This is Jordan Grace, and you're listening to the Social Suplex Podcast Network.
BWB, this is One Nation Radio. You better get it right. Rich Latta, James Boyd came to give them life. The Blackest Wrestling Podcast has come to kick all ass and drop it 6 feet if they kicking trash. Word, let me welcome y'all to something different. And if you dig it, man, you should let some friends listen. We be getting it in, this on the regular dude. Ravish and flow, but this shit rude. See, James don't rap, so I had to break it down. The whole network, man, we coming for the crown. Raps in the columns, I keep them both covered. Making the beats too, so the listeners can bump it. Hit us with the rating, yeah, I'm saying it's a 5. Before you hit it, talk, bob your head side to side. It's One Nation Radio, and this is the beginning. It's Rich, and I'm here with James. It's time to listen to One Nation.
We got to unleash the power of the pyramid.
This is Mike Sempervive from WrestlingObserver.com. Check me out on Wrestling Observer Live every day. And also check out your boys, Rich and James, on One Nation Radio.
Hi, this is Kenny Omega. We're listening to One Nation Radio. Check it out, guys. These guys know what's up. Big Kenny Omega fans, and that's all that counts to me. Goodbye and good night. Thanks.
Hey, folks. Welcome to this week's edition of One Nation Radio. A special... Is this the first ever rap-only edition of One Nation Radio, Rich?
I'm sure we've done those before. We've done the Kanye
all
song
rap,
tournament.
all rap, not start the show rap, all rap.
Yeah, we've done like the Kanye Madness tournament before.
You're right. It's been so long
and all that.
This is with no exaggeration, like one of the biggest like moments in rap in like a long time, and I don't think we've had a high level beef. Like a legitimate, like back and forth with diss records, like since Jay-Z and Nas. I mean, if you want to say 50 Cent and Rick Ross or 50 Cent and the whole Miami, the
game
situation, sure. But like, we talking about like the number 1 and number 2 in the industry.
This is a whole different thing, man.
Yeah. This is like the biggest high profile one in a long time, and especially for this generation.
Yeah, man. I'm so excited to talk about this because, not only do I like love pro wrestling, like I was telling some of the streamers before we hit record, like I love pro wrestling, but what I love the most is hip hop, and I'm a rapper, and I'm just like, I've had these debates about, who's the best, or, just framing the history of hip hop at a given time, with my friends, and people that I've been around for like over 25 years. So like, this is like a colossal occasion. So like, no wrestling this week. We'll be back next week with it. If you want to hang around and we're gonna, I want to be conscious of people that want to listen to the show and they don't know a lot about this whole thing. I kind of want to fill them in, and I also want to go deep because we have had several conversations this past week. Last week this whole thing jumped off on a Tuesday, James, and normally like I wouldn't say normally, like, a lot of time we'll be like, oh shit, we'll kick it to Tuesday or whatever, and something big happens, and it's like, oh, cool that we did a Tuesday show, but we did our normal schedule, and then all of a sudden, Euphoria, and I was like, oh my God, I was pissed. I was like, I can't believe this. By the time we get to Monday, it's gonna be whatever, but they took care of us all week, and we get to talk about it all. The only people that benefited from this beef, James Boyd and Rich Latta, here on One Nation Radio. Lock in. But before we get going, James, once again, get your One Nation Radio merchandise. There's even more on there this week than there was last week. OneLifetimeWorldwide.com. A lot of cool designs, pyramid designs on there, different from the normal logo. We have the normal logo as a hoodie right now, working on some bucket hats and all that. So we're going to have some dope merch on there. Make sure you guys get it. That's OneLifetimeWorldwide.com.
All right, so I mean, you gave a show outline. So where do you want to start?
All right, so Kendrick Lamar versus Drake. I guess we should talk about like the start of this rivalry that that kind of bloomed almost a decade ago. This whole thing didn't just appear over the Like That song. This thing has been almost inevitable from 2013 forward.
13? Okay, so do you want to start at 13 or you don't want to go to Control? You want to start at 13?
Well, that's when Control came out. And even before then,
I thought it came out in 14, no? I'm wrong? I'm just flat wrong?
I think it's 13.
Okay.
But even predating that, we had these guys doing songs together in 2012, 2011 on Drake's album.
Kendrick's first album on Poetic Justice. You had hilariously now the ASAP Rocky fucking problems that has Rakim ASAP Rocky on there with 2 Chainz.
Drake took Kendrick Lamar on tour early in his career, and it's almost like, can you look at those like were those intentions pure? I don't know, but you could definitely look at him now and be like, oh, was he trying to get some type of upper hand on him? Was he trying to put something in his back pocket for later? I don't know. These are just suggestions. But it really all kind of broke open with the Control verse back in 2013. There was a Big Sean, Kendrick Lamar, and Jay Electronica song. I remember nothing about Big Sean and Jay Electronica's verses.
No one else
God
does
bless
either,
him.
So it's fine.
The whole thing was basically Kendrick Lamar saying, I want the crown, I'm willing to kill everybody in the game, and he mentions pretty much all the relevant rappers by name. And at this time, there was a lot of We Are the World in rap going on. There was a lot of, the whole Miami connection. Just nobody really was saying each other's names like that, probably since like The Game. Some years before that, ironically, another West Coast person. But Kendrick Lamar
is that a concerning pattern?
I mean, they got a whole coast out there.
Are they built different out there?
Look, they not playing. But it was basically like, the names he said Wale, Big Sean, guys on the song with him he was talking about, but everyone zoned in on Drake, and it was like, then Drake kind of responded. Because
at that point in time, Drake was the biggest star in the industry by that point. Even, I mean, we are talking about, at that point in time, we were talking about, like, Yeezus had just happened or was about to happen, and we are past, like, the Good Music compilation album with Kanye, and it's like, he has moved, like, he has kind of, like, put himself on, like, the back burner type of thing, and is now trying to get, like, his label over, if you will. Or push his label, and so Drake is he's off of the success of him blowing up off of the mixtape, his first album, and his second album's already out there. And now at this point we're headed towards nothing was the same. So like he
started from the bottom is buzzing.
Yeah, like he's already ascended to like. If he's not going to be the top guy in rap, he already is. It's one of the two. Either he's going to be or he already is. And Kendrick is now, a year post his his breakout album.
Right. So like, at this point, these guys are guys early in their career. Still a lot to lose, like per se. Like we're, at this point, this thing happens 11 years after this. They've already had these legendary careers. Yeah. They were in those formative stages, so something could have thrown them off majorly had this like happened a decade ago, right? But Kendrick was kind of ready for it the whole time. And then, Drake kind of responded to this in kind on the Shit remix. I don't know if you remember that song. It was a Future song. And they were sampling like Tear the Club Up. Kind of subliminal stuff. He also, kind of did some interviews where he's saying, this is where, can you remember anything from that verse? And then, this is a song of the moment. I'd rather do it when it's real. And then from there, these guys kind of circle each other for a decade in subliminals. This really like is familiar to, like guys in the 90s, like the entire 90s of rap was guys just rapping about each other, but not saying the names.
Right.
But with Kendrick Lamar,
for a perfect example, I did not know until this year that Imaginary Player was about Mace. I had no idea. Never.
Yeah.
I never knew that.
Like when you go in with that knowledge, that whole shit, check your own videos. You'll always be number 2. Yep. It changes that entire shit. You know what else is about Mace? There's another song called, I believe, is Ride or Die on Hard Knock Life is also about Mace.
Which one? 1, 2, probably volume 1.
It's on a Hard Knock Life album. It's just called Ride or Die.
Sorry. So that's volume 2. If you said Ride or Die, I was thinking of like Rough Riders, like the compilation. Okay.
Yo, shout out to my man Frankie. 2 years on the subscription. Long time O&R supporter. Appreciate you, Frankie. But as I was mentioning, Kendrick Lamar kind of responds in that famous BET cipher where he does the high five, tuck the sensitive rapper back into his clothes, and everybody knows who he's talking about. And we're like, fuck it, it's time, go. But it never quite gets there. And then, like, you know, the rest of the decade happens, like the rest of the next 10 years happens. So like Drake, you know, continues to rap and sing and do various collab albums, stand next to a lot of people, try to bring younger rappers underneath him. Kendrick Lamar kind of becomes like a much more of a recluse than he was at the beginning of stages of his career. Yeah. Like he goes more in the artistic direction. So these guys are, while Drake is saying, I'm going to do whatever it takes to play the new streaming game, essentially, between, doing all these various different styles of music, whether it's the UK stuff, whether it's the dance hall stuff, whether it's the EDM the singing
album,
and the rapping, stuff like that, but never quite giving the hip hop album that most people want out of him. Always kind of just pulling it back a little bit, and I think kind of creating a large resentment that came back to bite him during this conflict. And Kendrick Lamar, on his end, he kind of goes, as I mentioned, into the artistic lane, kind of into making music that would kind of become the soundtrack for a lot of the decade and, political nature and, and just like, stuff with black folks in this country. And, and then he kind of goes almost too far in that direction where it's like, hey, bro, you got to reel it back in because, like To Pimp a Butterfly is very divisive, I would say.
It is. It is because it's kind of trying to toe the line of his first album, his breakout album is like he's a gangster rapper that is like kind of showing like from a pulled out macro level, like this trap that black people end up in, right? Like he's one of Good Kid, Mad City thing is like the story of tons of kids all around this country, but it's specific about Compton, it's specific about him, it's specific about his situation, and it's a great come of age album, and I think is one of the best concept albums ever, right? And then the second album is, what do you do after that? Like you can't make there's no such thing as a Good Kid, Mad City Part 2, right?
Right.
So he moves on from that, and like I didn't necessarily love To Pimp a Butterfly, but obviously you have songs like All Right, and I Love Myself, and like those are great songs, but there are the parts where it's like seeing some of the layers that were like consciously, not some incidental genius thing, like some conscious effort of like brilliance that were put into Good Kid, Mad City. Like you hear him say certain things. For me, it was off-putting, right? So for me, I was kind of disappointed, or not kind of. I was very disappointed. So, but it wasn't like it wasn't a very good album. I was expecting another all-time album, and this wasn't necessarily the case. So, right. But at the same time, he's still like this at the time when he's actually still working with people. So like he's like, even though that's happening, he still hops on like a year later. He hops on the freaking Compton album and he completely destroys Deep Water for Drake. Completely destroys it.
Taking a lot of shots at Drake on that song.
Yep.
And then from there, I think, Kendrick kind of realized that he's like, hey, man, I got to kind of show that I can compete, because at this time, Drake is running off just with everything. Everything he's doing, this is like the peak of Drake for me. This is like, everything before Views, I feel like it's an iceberg when he hits Views. He's going nuts with the Nothing Was the Same album. Right. He's going nuts with the first Future collab album, doing a lot of features around that point. And then like If You Reading This Is Too Late, where it's like for me, that's my favorite Drake album by far.
And that was a special moment because like you got Nothing Was the Same in 2013. Then like he comes back the very next year with as you mentioned that, and then like that's three straight years of new projects, and they're all fairly different. They're all very successful, and they all have smash hits on them, all of them.
Right.
And this is at the time when like he's basically carrying like them Khaled albums, like he is like the go-to guy for some of that, for a lot of that stuff. So like, yeah, it's, He's having his run. He's having his ace run, if you will. Definitely.
Yep. Working with a lot of people like Ross, working with Future, working with just like people that are here today, gone tomorrow,
French.
like McConan, French.
Yep.
French, had more longevity than that.
People that had longevity in the game that we thought were going to be here to get going tomorrow, like Migos, Versace.
Yeah.
Like he Versace was a thing in Atlanta. That was not a thing worldwide, and he made it a thing worldwide.
Yeah. And at this point, then I think Drake runs into an iceberg, like kind of creatively, like because he's not getting that critical acclaim that I think he wants, and I thought he should have got at that point, right? Mm-hmm. But it just didn't for whatever reason. And this whole time, like, as I mentioned, like there was still something missing from him. As good as If You're Reading This Is Too Late was, as good as a lot of that stuff with Future was, it was like, I think there's more in you. And then at that point, we get to Views, where I feel like is the iceberg of like, that's the second half of his career. I hated Views. This is the album that famously got Joe Budden, like, that blew his podcast up when he went on a rant, found Drake unmotivated, found him like a guy with no one to say. The album, he was miserable, it seemed like, on it. There was just so much about it and so disappointing at this point, because this was supposed to be like, the classic.
Because he was setting up for it. He was setting up for it. Like, he was naming this album on the album that was coming out. Like, the next album is called Views. Be ready for it. Right. And another part about it is like, and this for me, context for me, this is 2014 is the point where like 2014, 15 is the point where I like, hey, I'm not in on rap. I'm kind of checked out. Like I feel uninspired by the music. And a part of that was like Drake's on his apex, and like, I just don't like that dude. Like, I don't like his ethos as a person. I just don't. Like, he seems like a nice enough guy, but a lot of that stuff seems superficial with his friendships and connections with people. And like, he's doing a collab album with Future, and for me, it seems transparent as fuck. It's like you put the young guy, like, it's like you put like Darby Allin, he's tag team with Jericho. What does that feel like to you? Right? It's like, this is a guy that sees somebody that is super talented and has like a buzz to him, rightfully so, because of what Future had done up to that point on his own, and like, it's a top hit maker, like basically attaching himself to. Like, it is the vampirism that we talk about with Triple H and Jericho, right? So it felt transparent. It's like, also like, he's not a threat to push him like creatively. Like, they're gonna get together, they're gonna make bangers, and they absolutely did. Like that. Look, not bad, but like, Big Things, like that, you know.
Jump Man.
Jump Man. Those are all time songs. But like, at the same time, these are not songs where like Drake is not like Watch the Throne, where like Jay-Z is obviously a more talented with the pen than Kanye, because he's not challenged at all. He's not challenged to try different things and step out of his zone. Like, there is no Jay-Z rapping over on the second that back half verse of Who Gonna Stop Me. There is nothing like that. You know, there is no, like, even for them at that point, like the challenge of like bringing alertness to, hey man, even though we're super rich, like we are still facing anti-black discrimination. Like, there is nothing beyond just the moment. Like, the moment is, we have the hottest street dude and like the biggest pop rapper we ever had, and they're together making a song. And I mean, he even replicated that years later with the 21 shit. So. You know, that was the start of like, all right, man. And then Mustard came around, and YG's like a gigantic star. I'm like, bro, I like YG, but he ain't, you know. So for me, that's when I kind of checked out. But I'm still following these things as it's all happening. And like, I'm hearing Views is disappointing people, and I never listened to it until like probably like 3-4 years ago. I was like, oh, this dude sounds angry. He sounds like he hates women, right? He sounds just like he. Like, you know, the ascension, he got to the top of the mountain, and like, he's lonely on the top of the mountain. Honestly,
it's like he looked up there and he was like, this is it. Like, I believe he has a song called "Is There More?" or is it more like on like so. Scorpion or some shit?
Yeah. But Scorpion and more Views are way better than Views. So yeah.
So at this point, he's playing, the full streaming game, like these long ass albums, 20 something songs on them. He's got these individual songs that take off, a lot of viral stuff, goofy shit, Hotline Bling, good songs, but nothing that's like, all right, for the highlight reel. Goes through More Life. He's doing weird things, calling it a playlist rather than an album. And this is more, all right, what Drake are we gonna get? Is this London Drake? Is this Jamaican dancehall Drake? Is this
Afrobeats
whatever?
Drake.
Right, all these things like kind of muddy the message of like who Drake is, like what to expect from him.
And another thing is like we know what he sounds like, but we don't know what he has to say. And like this main thing about it is like ultimately for me, it came to like wow, the top rapper in the game has nothing to say other than like I got haters because that's what the position brings, obviously, and like I have issues with women, and that's because it's girl rap. And I'm like, I find that to be very, very shallow. And like I don't know how many more songs I'm gonna hear of the same thing. And I was kind of, and for me, I was like, all right, man, he's top guy, he's super successful, whatever else, but like I don't feel like he's ever had some classic album, and I don't feel like he's ever like told me anything really. So I'm kind of just like, all right, he's going to make a million more songs, but I'm not going to learn anything about him. I'm kind of done here.
Right. And then in this time, Kendrick Lamar feels like he has to wake up to see the streaming landscape that's going on to make these hits. And then he comes out with Damn, which for me is a 5 mic album.
Yep.
Basically he strips back the complicated nature of To Pimp a Butterfly and makes it like very easy. Like you listen to Humble, it's like, oh, we've stripped this shit all the way down. You got Element, DNA, like all that shit is like very, and it's like he's on some different beats this time.
Mike Will, because a lot of it is Mike Will, and it's like there's always going to be Soundwave around. And I mean, I guess we might talk about Soundwave at some point during this, what he helped contributed this past week. But like past that, like it is, all right, Pharrell's kind of cooked. Let's not go back there to that. Let's go with the hottest guy in the game at this point, and Mike Will. And Mike Will drops him off with some incredible stuff. And I thought it was a nice meeting in the middle between them, as far as like, Mike Will can be very simplistic while the shit sounds great. It can be very simplistic, and I think he challenged Mike Will to be like, all right, man, I need you to give me a second beat, basically a second sample for DNA, and then he throws in that ganja sample, and it's incredible. And like I think also at the same time, like it gets Kendrick into like, hey man, you thinking too much, just rap, because you are an incredible rapper. And he gives you Element, and you're just like, what is this? Not what is this, because it's not like it's unfamiliar, but it's like, this feels like real hip hop. Like, this feels like a DJ is mixing this, even though this is the record. And the DJ obviously cuts on or whatever else, but like, it feels just fresh and just awesome in a moment in time. Yeah.
Yeah. Continuing from there, Kendrick Lamar then kind of goes on this absence. COVID happens. He's around very rarely.
Well, I think you're also forgetting, and this is also part that I think that I mentioned to you when you talk about like the where is he thing. Like, he should get credit as saying like that Black Panther soundtrack is an album. He's on almost all.
But
people, but like when you look at his, his singles discography, that time missing. But it's like, I think people need to point at like, hey, this man dropped Damn in 2017, and then 2018 he dropped the Black Panther album, which is also a great album, or soundtrack, which is also a great album. So like, but then you get into the part where it's like, all right, you have those back to back, and he feels like he's in his own world as like, in his mind, he can say I'm the best because look at what I've done. Mm-hmm. I have another classic masterpiece album, and I also have, the soundtrack to this super black ass soundtrack, and like
carrying the culture, as they say, like it's very transparent. Yes. They weren't reaching out to Drake, the Canadian, for this.
Nope.
So like and these guys are running. They're running these parallel races. Mm-hmm. You see these two blunts that I have right here? They were they were like this, and they weren't really crossing paths, but still.
Right.
Like I forgot who was saying it. It might have been Big Daddy Kane. It was like, hey man, eventually someone, when both guys in the room and somebody says, I'm the nicest motherfucker in here, they got a battle, but from there, as I mentioned, Kendrick kind of disappears, from that kind of being out there. COVID happens, which pushes back the music industry in various ways, except for Drake, who keeps, I don't know whether it's pressure from the record labels or any type of deal that he signed, but he keeps putting out these almost throwaway albums. I think Certified Lover Boy is awful. Honestly, Nevermind was awful.
Like it's honestly Nevermind is the EDM album, right?
Yeah.
It's a lot of that is like he has moved on full on into the pop factory, where it's like, hey man, people, you can love whatever pop star from whatever era you have, but there is someone you absolutely love that never made no class but churned out, multiple double, triple, quintuple platinum singles, right? But you look at that, you look at their discography, and you look at them albums, and you be like, I only remember like 3 songs from this. Go back and play it, be like, nah, man, these things are just held up by these massive hits, right? So this is when he finally broke into that, and also it was at a time where like albums matter less and less every single year, and we're at a time where like no one, you got an album, you got an album that's whatever, but like they got massive hits, so it slides.
And he's turning over into the new class of guys. Like now he's working with like Lil Baby and Gunna and like different stuff like that. Over
Take Keith beats.
Correct. So like it's like, and he's doing his one-offs with like Block Boy JB and different stuff like that. But he's not.
It seems that like as this keeps going and he keeps making more and more hits or whatever else. Like it's like, does 40 produce any of these anymore?
Yeah.
It seems like he realized like the hit factory is not with that guy. It's not.
Forgot to mention, in 2015, Drake gets into a conflict of his own with Meek Mill, which kind of puts and Drake during this whole time has had various like kind of dust offs with people. Went at like Tyga, basically. Went at Common. Went at as I mentioned, Meek Mill, and these are all what I would call safe opponents.
Tomato cans, if you will.
Yeah.
Like, don't be wrong, Common's just too old for people to care in that kind of situation.
It's like Common's just too far out of like, he's not speaking to the generation of listeners like in rap right now.
Right.
Or at that time.
And even at his peak, he was not that level of popular.
Right. And I think it could have been a little problem, for Drake, but I think the whole thing with Meek Mill fooled so many people, where Drake kind of comes up with this new template of disses to where he's going to try to make this club song as a diss song on you, right? Mm-hmm. The ghostwriting allegations emerge.
Yeah, Quentin Miller.
The
one story, the one Undertaker thing that Meek Mill did, where like he did it and you can barely hear what he make out what he's saying. He mentioned like, wait, did he mention that Meek Mill that Drake got pissed on at an award show? And we found out that story is verifiable for multiple people, but like Drake's sensitive guy, so like he can do no wrong at this point. So like he slides on all of it because obviously he absolutely out raps Meek Mill to the surprise of no one at One Nation Radio. But Meek Mill is upper mid Carter in the rap game at that point in time. Like he's an intercontinental champion level guy.
Right. Like and you would think Meek comes in battle rap history, but when it comes to it, like Meek was not the strategist that he needed to be, as well as like not the lyrical wordsmith he would need to be to hang in with Drake. It was just too much. The back-to-back thing kind of like let everything mess it up for him. The memes buried him. Drake's owned the internet all throughout this era.
Right.
Fast forward, it's time for Scorpion. And you know what I'm about to say. You are hiding a child. Pusha T comes in. Pusha T has some of the same weaknesses as previous opponents, like an older rapper, previous generation, different stuff like that. But Pusha T is so cold that it doesn't matter. Like, and
it don't matter. He consistently raps over funky ass beats.
Right. And with Pusha T, I think it was such a rejection of like the star that Drake is. Like he didn't try to come at him on this this angle, like where I'm going to try to do this for my career. And, you know, to a lesser extent, Joe Budden goes at him a couple years before to Pusha T. And the blueprint is being laid on ultimately what's going to take Drake down during this Kendrick Lamar thing. The song after song after song thing Joe Budden did. The information that Pusha T has, where he basically drops the blackface picture, calling into question Drake's identity, which he struggles with and never really had to answer for. Yep. Struggles to this day. He, you know, gets called in with the, you know, the Ghost Rider stuff again. You are hiding a child. You're hiding your woman. The whole thing with 40, you know, like, and it's just like he's hitting Drake from so many ways to where Drake kind of has to take it on the chin. He did something called a Dubby freestyle, which was really good, but it wasn't.
Didn't Dubby happened before Added-On, right?
Yes, yeah. And this is where
remember he's playing, but the whole time he's playing with Pusha T. He's doing the whole thing. He's treating him like he's Meek Mill, and is like Pusha T. Pusha T is not Meek Mill, brother. And he plays it. He plays the whole game, and then you know at the end of the song he says, "You know what? You know I should charge you. I should invoice you for the promotion for your album, right?"
He's doing memes,
and then doing the memes, right? So then Pusha T on Twitter says, "Send the invoice." And what does Drake do? He sends an actual fax to the office, right? For what? Like I think it was like $300,000-$400,000 and everything.
Yeah.
And then Pusha T went out there and punched him in the fucking face, in audio form. And he didn't get off, and he put him on his ass and didn't get up. It was over.
And around this time, Drake kind of stops doing media. Kendrick Lamar never really did a ton anyway, but he does not do media either. And neither one of these guys appear in media almost to this day, aside from very controlled situations, such as like The Shop with LeBron James. Or
so he can control his narrative, which is Drake. After he lost this, like he basically almost made it like I'm never going to put myself in a vulnerable situation like this ever again. And you see that LeBron barbershop interview, and you go over it, and you go through like he always has crafted this narrative that he is such a nice guy. Like he's different from all the other rappers because he's so nice. And he has all these relationships with all these rappers, and he's all nice to him and very generous. And like he takes them on tours, you mentioned, and he does collab outs with these people that he's such bigger stars, and he's such a great guy. And he's hanging out with all like the college sports stars and the NBA stars, and he's everywhere during the playoffs and all that kind of stuff. And
through all that, resentment is building towards him. I think it's just when you're that public, people are going to be forced to, like, no one's going to be in the middle on Drake. You're either going to not like how he gets down, or you're going to create, you know, a generation of people that just grow up with you and see you just as that person there. Like people like 10 years younger than me, like my little sister, my niece, they grew up with Drake. They love Drake their whole lives.
Right. Like I remember, Marvin Wilson in 2017 ends up a Florida State 5-star recruit, right? People ask these players these questions like, who's your favorite artist or whatever? He says Drake. Like, Drake's been the biggest star, since I was X age. I was like, in my mind, I did math like, oh, I'm old. Drake has been around since he was in 5th grade. Oh, I feel old. So yeah, he definitely is like, our Jay-Z, our Biggie, our Tupac, whatever you want to say. Like he was absolutely the biggest star for a generation of kids, and he's going to continue to be that. It seems like, yeah. Yeah. And,
moving forward, then, as I mentioned, Drake's, his output suffers at this point, like to where, I think Dark Lane Demo Tapes is probably like his best project of the era up until For All the Dogs, which I think is just a decent album, and that's adding the stuff that they added on. Before that, I thought it was a bad album. I think C.O.B. was really bad. And it was just like, he's not getting the critical acclaim that he always was, but
he's always craved. He's always craved it.
Yep. And the way the rap game had been set up, by streaming, like it was leaving him on top when someone feasibly should have taken his place. Like this is where we saw the pandemic rappers that popped up and then didn't, on the other side of it, they didn't have anywhere to go because they were also playing that game. Make as many songs as possible. Don't worry about the quality. Get your streams up. You know, I don't even want to like go into the names, but you guys like pretty much know who they all are.
I mean, there's two of them when they got the same name. One is Lil and one's Duh.
Yeah.
And that's not to say, it's not speaking on quality of level of rapper they are, because I think Lil Baby's a great rapper, but you know, like he's had a burnout period because they were flooding the market.
Yep. Question from /Styles. What about J. Cole escaping all this? I'm glad you brought up J. Cole.
He's been the person that's been able to manage this in the middle better than both of them. And it has changed his he was a recluse at first.
Yep. Like Cole like kind of came in kind of getting rolled out the same way as Drake. Doing the woman friendly records, being under the hip hop legend, under the learning tree. And then like, you know, after his second album, he kind of like is like, yo, this isn't me. And then he kind of like retreats into his own, you know, creative space, which creates a golden era for him as well. Like, as James mentioned, he's the third guy that kind of like is like, all right, if you don't gravitate to one or the other, you'll probably like Cole because of the, you know, the reality that he raps with, his kind of sense of being present in the moment, like, and kind of almost being accessible, kind of will show you like it does also retreats from interviews after a certain point.
Yep.
But you'll see his creative process. You'll see him kind of being this meme, double plat with no features, but then he opens up his creative thing to start working with people, and he always seems to come from a more pure angle than anyone.
Either one of them. He seems more altruistic than both of them. Yeah.
Yeah. But
as much as someone at that level in this game can be, anyway.
Right. But this whole thing, I hope we set it up so you guys have an idea of who these guys are at this point. With Kendrick Lamar, just this critically acclaimed guy who doesn't really seem to like you, and you don't know him. Like, you don't know what he thinks though, like as far as like his place in the game, anything like that. He just does his music, makes his classic albums, gets the fuck out the way.
Right.
You know, kind of.
Right. He makes like it's really quick to like, I wanna do the press, I want my album to succeed, and then like once we're past that and we're past the touring, I'm back to my family and back to the things I care about.
Yeah, Drake, on the other hand, he got to be everywhere with everyone. He's got to be seen, essentially.
Right. And this also in the backdrop of all this happening, like we mentioned the Push T thing, like the main thing in the forefront for Drake isn't actually Kendrick Lamar. It's Kanye. And it's the clash it's a clash of like who is the actual like who is the top like middle class superstar rapper. And like the guards being changed from like it was always Kanye was the first person to even invent this thing that we never know was ever going to happen, and then Drake took it. And like their real relationship as far as like Kanye being a narcissist and like not being able to handle the part where like he's being surpassed, and Drake going into his narcissism of like I've taken this dude's spot, and like he's a producer, and like. So he's doing all these things, and like, how do I handle like my narcissism with like my need to like, have everyone feel that they like me versus Kanye like leading out of the I'm a nice guy to like I'm just a raging ego. And so that was the main thing for Drake for so long, and then like we got to a point where it's like you know the pandemic basically ended Kanye as someone that matters to you know serious rap conversations. So like that kind of made Drake was like he kind of got off the guard because like the motherfucker we thought was like the best artist of maybe ever generation as far as producing music like has lost his damn mind. So like all this stuff that's happening with Drake is like kind of sliding under the radar as far as major criticism, because like we're finding out this person that made Jesus Walks and is a Nazi, you know. So like that's kind of kind of
goes under the radar.
Yeah, like oh you know. Oh, Certified Love Ball wasn't that good? Oh, Honestly Nevermind is a bad EDM album? Okay, but Kanye's out here telling us that he likes Hitler.
He's wearing White Lives Matter shirts, reappropriating the Confederate flag, like.
And that started at Yeezus. The Confederate flag stuff started at Yeezus.
The signs were there. Like.
We should have known when that man said he wanted a white Jesus piece. We should have known back then.
moving forward into more the current day. So like I said, I hope you guys like understand who these guys are. Drake also throughout this has really strange relationships with younger women, which are explored on his albums and also in the public space. Like people are monitoring these things, like grooming, these large age gaps as Drake starts to, grow into like a 30-year-old. Like he has a relationship with like Millie Bobby Brown and different various models.
Bella Hadid. He may or may not have dated Kylie Jenner like around the Tyga situation, and Tyga's younger than Drake, and that was weird with Tyga. And like, yeah, currently right now he turns 38 this year. He's dating Lotto's 21-year-old sister right now. He's 30-fucking-7. That's weird, man.
So a lot of this is happening. Like these are these warts this guy has. And Kendrick Lamar, you don't really know anything about him. Like he makes Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, finally comes back. And it's a good album. I wouldn't say it's on the level of like, his previous work or anything, but it's like an album that kind of tries to humanize him a little bit, tell us a few things about himself and, kind of reintroduce himself to the rap audience, like to where, he's a relevant figure because like his last album was in 2017. COVID fucked things up. I imagine he wanted to come out sooner than that.
Right.
But you look up and 5 years go by. You kind of get robbed of those COVID years. But moving on from there, Drake comes out with All the Dogs at the end of 2023. Takes a lot of shit for this, like just being. I think people reached their breaking point with him, where they're like, he's never gonna fucking do it. This guy's a knucklehead. He doesn't fucking get it. It's like the same shit. He's not growing up. It's like he's essentially all the complaints like that you had about Views, all the other works were almost
starting from Views and then moving on. Yeah.
It was like almost all in one in there. And even though For All the Dogs was a little bit better, quality wise than some of the previous projects, he was bullied by the reaction so much. He went back in the studio to put like 8 or 6 more songs on it, which, he's coming out rapping. He's coming out swinging a little bit. And it saves the album kind of, I think, perception-wise. Mm-hmm. But we remember what that first, cut sounded like. On that album, though, is an important song, Where the Beef Begins. This is Patient Zero.
Yeah.
And it's a song called First Person Shooter, which we later found out Kendrick Lamar was asked to be on this song.
Right.
And he says so as much on Euphoria, I believe.
Yep.
And First Person Shooter is a song where J. Cole just goes fucking crazy. And they're talking about the big three. They're doing all this stuff, and we know what the big three means, but it's like the big three's not on the song. It's only Drake and Cole.
Right. And when Cole says it, it's like, then why isn't he here?
Yeah.
That's strange. And then now we're starting now this stuff has happened over the summer, is like, oh, that's why he wasn't on there. There's been something brewing, and we've more or less touched on, like, there's been these 2 stars that have, had their little, snipes at each other or whatever else, but they've never crossed each other in an official way. And it's starting here because of like, why wasn't he on there? And it's like, in a way, he's like, if you're Kendrick, you've been like saying for the last half decade plus, I'm smoking on your top 5 rappers. Right.
Right.
And like, he'll drop an album, he'll drop a classic, leave, and then hop on one of them top dog niggas shits and fucking murder it and then go away again for another year. Mm-hmm. So like, it's like, wait a second, is he, how does he actually feel about this rap thing? Does he really care in that way? Or is he like just saying it away so he doesn't like ruin relationships, or what is this? And we'll probably never get an answer to this stuff, but like, it leaves a lot to wonder with him as far as that, because like, he does this, he's not on this record, and it's his absence speaks volumes, obviously. And it's a great record because J. Cole, I mean, is that still the best verse of the year?
Came out last year, but for sure,
oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
But like in this whole time, it's like, all right, like for me, I think Cole kind of grabs the crown at this point, kind of as the best guy due to Drake's output and then Kendrick's inactivity,
Right.
kind of.
Because he's the best of both worlds as far as availability and talent. Or availability and production. Yeah.
And he kind of rolls out this project like kind of like after a thing is in the works called Might Delete Later, and there's various snippets emerging, a documentary and all that. In the middle of that, March 22nd of this year, Like That drops on one of those future Metro Boomin albums. And this has a verse from Kendrick Lamar where he's like, he basically takes aim at the concept of the big three, says it doesn't exist, it's just Big Him. We've covered it on One Nation Radio before. Yep. And Kendrick is basically announcing, like, I want to smoke. And this is a response to first person shooters, seemingly.
Yes. And I mean, not seemingly, definitely, because the big three thing is there.
Yeah.
And also, it should be noted, like, this song is like this Future in Metro Boomin song. We find out like, oh, Future and Metro don't fuck with Drake no more. After storied, their careers are linked together inextricably. So yeah, that's all of this stuff, and it's like, wait, what's going on? All of a sudden, like three of the biggest people in the industry don't fuck with Drake after we've had almost like radio silence on beef amongst like hip hop heavyweights or even like just featured acts or marquee acts in rap over the last decade. That's weird. What's going on?
We're also getting a collapse of a lot of the departments at the record labels, like as far as like different jobs going away and
A&R's staff downsizing. Yeah.
Right. Everything's getting kind of consolidated and like people are going independent. People are doing a lot of stuff to essentially find out how they're going to keep, the lights on, like with the music stuff. And in Like That, Kendrick flat out rejects the concept of his peers and saying they're not on my level. I want it. What's up? From there, J. Cole responds about 2 weeks later with a song called 7 Minute Drill,
before we get to that, is it fair to say that like the Like That verse is basically Control all over again?
I'll say this. You could say that, but I'll say there's an old Jay-Z line. It's funny how one verse can fuck up the game. and that's what this was.
That's what both of those did, though.
Yeah, like, but I feel like this one was a way. There was no running from this one.
Yeah,
because there's almost so many people that were mentioned last time. There was almost plausible deniability. There's people that weren't mentioned responding to that shit. So it was like, do you really want to get lost in that? No. And Like That is burning up Twitter. It's burning up everything. It's becoming like the number one song in the country.
Is it? Yeah.
People are eating this up because public perception has swung on Drake when it's like everyone's like, you know what? Get him, Kendrick.
Yeah.
That's what I think a lot of this is.
Yeah.
And then Future and Metro Boomin is like, hey, we raking it in. You know?
Yep. While we make our 2 double albums that like just came and went.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just wanted a different clarification. Like when we talk about, like, we're talking about number one song in rap, because obviously during this time, like, we have Taylor Swift drop, Beyonce drop, but even while they have dropped and their stuff has came down from the top of the charts, Like That's still there to this day. So like it's weathered 2 icebergs that hit this particular Titanic, and it's still there. And obviously this beef has sparked it back to make it still stay there even more. So like we'll see whenever it goes down. But like, I mean, it's basically rap song of the summer at worst by this point, unless
well,
unless one of these disc records ends up being it, which I can't imagine if that plays on the radio. Oh my god, yeah.
Hey man. From there, J. Cole responds because he is mentioned in this thing, but comes out with this kind of half-hearted, not really like. It didn't seem like it was like the concept 7 Minute Drill. Like it was like, oh, I thought we was about to hear some shit, but
right.
We just saw. It was like, all right, I guess it's a round one, I guess, but
it's very tame even for opening round. Very tame.
Yeah. And it's like his energy's all off on the song. Like it's like there's something not right. Let's just say that. No later than like
2 days later.
I don't know. 2 days later, he's at Dreamville Fest, and he basically throws his hands up, says, this don't feel right in my spirit and all this. And immediately I get the feeling, and I think I come on One Nation Radio after this. I'm like,
immediately he disappoints Richard a lot as much as any rapper ever has, maybe.
Yes, this is one, and I'm still disappointed by this, right? Like, to the point where, like, I understand what the deal was and why he got out the way, because allegedly Schoolboy Q was like, "Hey, get out the way."
Yeah, he
was tipped off. And I said on One Nation Radio, my suspicion was some type of call was made.
Right.
It was like, we don't want J. Cole.
Right.
This was designed to bring that nigga outside.
Because it's like he still has a plausible deniability of saying he talked about two people, not just one. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I think Cole looks around and is like, all right, I guess I can up the ante and basically publicly apologize. That'll remove me and say I'll take the lick too.
Yeah.
And then he'll take the beating on his reputation, and he's gonna wear that.
And to be fair, shout out to J. Cole because he was not told this, but the apology should be as loud as the disrespect. And he absolutely fell on the sword. He absolutely did.
Yeah. So from there, it's like he even removed 7 Minute Drill from streaming. He's really sorry about this. Yeah. And
he's like, that's okay. There, I got my copy in it on the hard drive, so he ain't going nowhere, brother.
Yeah, we got that.
Yeah, I don't need a DSP. I got it.
So from there, like, things kind of just go kind of cold for a little bit, because obviously, like, that has happened. Drake is like, still kind of out there, been silent on all this. And then we start getting the weirdest shit that has ever happened in rap beef, strictly due to technology. We start hearing niggas make AI disses that are fake songs of these guys dissing each other.
Because people are so thirsty for this beef, like Rich, we talked about over the month or whatever. It's about like, hey man, people are thirsty and dying, and they want these people to fight verbally, and there's a space for it, and people are ready to click on anything. They just want to feel that feeling. They want a good shot of dope, and they wanted some of that rhyming wrestling.
They were using TikTok for this because how the algorithm's set up is just gonna push shit to you. Twitter and all this stuff, and it was just like this. I don't like this because it's hard to tell the fake from the real sometimes, but there was one immediately, like, I was really disappointed by that Kendrick Lamar one that one guy dropped. Like, I think he's a sucker. I think he's, in the middle of like this very important thing. You put this thing out where it's like, it could really fuck up a lot of things, and then I could immediately hear, I'm like, there's a lot that AI can do, but imitate Kendrick Lamar is not one of them. Like, and then, the Drake stuff I was hearing, we hear the song Push Ups, and the first time I hear it, it's the old copy of Push Ups. It leaks, doesn't like necessarily come out via Drake. And I was like, before I jumped on Twitter, I was like, is this AI? Like, and I was just like, it was badly like mixed. It was like the drums on it don't like hit right. I was like, what the fuck is going on here? Then a new version comes out later in the day.
And to me, it seemed like when I listened to it, it's Ace Vane on Instagram.
Yeah.
It sounded like Ace Vane got a filter. Because Ace Vane's a witty, good rapper, quality rapper. But this sounded like somebody made a Drake song or whatever, as opposed to it's a Drake song that's a diss record. And so new beat comes in and, takes out that Get Money sample, puts in what ends up being the beat. And it's just like, okay, so we already heard it. To me, it loses its steam by being this thing that was floated out. But it was effective.
It was almost like, are they doing like test runs? Like, is this a new kind of thing? Like,
right. It felt like people were like sending demos out to like, the narrative crafters that are, in the game, like the Joe Buttons, the Axe, the, Charlemagne's, whoever else you want to name that are a part of this now, were like, there is a absolute insider aspect to the coverage of rap music now. And I feel like it's more popular, even like the insider aspect of like pro wrestling at this point. like, because I mean, you got Dave Meltzer, you got Sean Ross Sapp or whatever else, you got, you know, others that know people or whatever connected, but like, they're not the absolute go-tos for your news and your coverage of rap music on a weekly or daily basis. In rap, these guys are now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that's an underrated aspect of all this. It's like, I can't count how many times I found myself going to Academic Stream after this just to see what his reaction was. And it's like, it's academics. It's like, he's a lame ass nigga, but it's like, at the same time, he's in that position.
It's totally biased.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So from there, like, Push-Ups comes out. I think Push-Ups is dope. I'm like, oh, he's rapping on this shit. Yep. Like, I like the beat. I like the pianos. I like the concept.
And he's giving shots to everybody that is now in this fuck Drake clique. And like he's shooting first. Honestly. So yeah.
So like I hear this, but I'm like, yeah, all right, cool. Let's get it. Like, you know, I was like, oh, this is like, you know, this is like an 8 out of 10 or whatever, 7.5 out of 10, 8 out of 10, something like that. And I was like, but he really wants to do it with Kendrick Lamar. Mm-hmm. Well, all right, let's see how it goes. He sets up for the second half of the song, the Drop and Give Me 50 part.
Yep.
I think the song goes over really well. I think a lot of the Drake fans get really confident, high on their own supply.
Because they're front runners, of course. And Drake is also a front runner, of course.
Yep.
You know, so, you know, I don't recall him in the last 5 years, like, being around Cali, Kentucky, in Lexington. I don't recall, but whatever, we'll move on. So, yeah, like, you know, at the end, you hear, like, they break out into a Take Heat beat for, like, a bar, and he's like, you know, I was really trying to, really trying to keep PG. And like, what's that? Okay. All right. I'll keep that in the back of my mind. And we'll come back to it in a minute. But like, that's a warning shot. That I got more. And, you know, then we have to wait. Because we're like, all right, where's Kendrick in all of this?
Detour. Rick Ross responds immediately.
That's true.
Same day.
Yep.
In the studio, song playing in the background. He's on IG laughing at him, calling him white boy.
Yes.
We've talked about this on the show before, basically exposing like the fallout of Drake and Ross through all this. And, you know, everything that happens with French Montana that's connected with Drake not clearing a verse.
Well, let's get into that now. He doesn't clear the verse because allegedly the lyrics on there is him alluding to having some type of intimate relationship with Kim Kardashian. And it's at a time where he's already came out in public and said nothing ever happened, but he had that in his back pocket after the years of the stuff going back to him and Kanye. Back when he was teasing about, you know, on Sicko Mode, how, you know, he lives up the street from her, you know, turn off the lights, make a sacrifice and all kind of stuff. And it's nasty business by this guy, and there's a pattern of this with him where he's making nasty business of him fucking people's women or significant others, better way to say it. But you know, these dudes think of them as their women. They see them as that. You know, that's how these dudes think.
Ross then goes to town on Drake, basically coming up with the BBL Drizzy name, which has taken on a whole life of its own. Talks about Drake's surgeries.
Yes.
Talks about the way he was dressing, the white boy thing. Talks about the pastrami posse. Talks about a lot of stuff.
We have to talk about pastrami posse and Rick Ross and anti-Semitism at some point. Do you want to do it now or later?
Look.
I mean, is Ross going to come back up to talk about it or not? Because I don't think he is.
I don't know if Ross well, actually, Ross just pops up between each round, essentially laughing.
Yeah.
Like.
Right. So, Ross, you know, has a line, calls OVO the pastrami posse, and then I immediately heard that line. I was like, hold on, bro. Is he being anti-Semitic right there? Because, like, obviously, if this was any other rapper, he would not be calling their clique the pastrami posse. He's talking about that in relationship to Jewish people in pastrami, right? So then let's fast forward to the Rick Ross stuff. Ross on Twitter the other day, and he's talking, and this after Meet the Grams, and he's talking about Drake and being, and you know, his history as a groomer or whatever else, and talking about predators and everything and pedophiles, and then he gives off a list of famous pedophiles, and he mentions the last names Epstein, Weinstein, and Schindler. And there's a certain commonality between them 3 last names that, like, also when you throw in that you saying pastrami posse a week ago, makes me be like, oh, I see what you're doing here, and he's gonna slide on it because in where he's at in his space, they don't hit people over the head about anti-Semitism. But this one Irish radio, we like, hey man, this is troubling. You should be saying this shit. And yeah, so I just wanted to point that out. That, like, when I went back to a couple weeks ago, we talked about Strawberry's Policy, and I brought it up to everybody. I was saying that in joke, and I said he was gonna slide on it. Then he puts out that tweet. Like I said, he's gonna slide on it, and I'm waiting for him to start or start doing features with Kanye again.
Man,
now that's one to talk about how Kanye hopped on the Like That remix and made his own.
Not
remix.
Yet.
Okay.
Not yet. So up next, as I mentioned, Drake is puffing his chest out. There's been no response from Kendrick Lamar. People are acting like Kendrick Lamar was just like went home or something. They're just going crazy, begging for him to respond. He's on the clock, left and right. Drake hits him again with something called the tailor-made freestyle. Sounds like a Dr. Dre beat, but what Drake does is use an AI filter of Tupac and Snoop Dogg's voices on this. Like he was giving advice to Kendrick Lamar, basically begging him to come outside, and then he's on the third verse as himself. This was very divisive, and to me, this is the first mistake that Drake has made in this battle, because AI itself is very divisive. The use of Tupac is very, like, people don't play about that shit.
Right.
And then, like, just AI and music and art itself, like, people fundamentally reject it. So it's like you're already climbing up a hill by using AI in the first place. Parts of this were creative. I think a lot of the raps on there, I think if he would have rapped as himself the whole time, I think this goes over totally different. It's much more creative that way and is fairly effective, but I wouldn't call this a straight diss song, kind of like I would Push-Ups. This is more like, okay, let's this is something else I got.
This is like puffing out his chest saying, like, either you need to hurry up because, like, I got something on the way, and, like, I think I'm going to beat you, so I need to try to get you out of your, like, what do you call it, your cover hole, right? And while doing it, he's being like, he's front running. He's flat out front running. He's puffing out his chest and saying, like, I got this dude shook. I know you ain't finna let down the West Coast, right? And as far as the AI thing, like, it's another pattern of him, of Drake. Like, it's like, bro, it's hypocritical. Like, that that Weekend and Drake AI song that first people heard, like, they immediately got taken down by the companies. Like, that was a big deal. And now he's the number one guy in the industry in this genre, and he's using it. And it's like, this is nasty. Like, it's
like, this could set a bad tone.
And this goes in line with, like, the, hey, don't French, don't use that verse like that. I don't know if I want that or people think, even if he wants it or not, people think he doesn't want it on the radio, so people are playing these games, but with or without his approval, to play with like that being on the radio, So it's all dirty pool he's playing, and these people are already pissed off with him as an industry that have worked with him before.
So, like, this doesn't go over well. Like, this basically turns around so bad. Tupac's estate gets involved. Drake is forced to pull the song down. Immediately, that's an L. Like, yep. I don't, like, no way around it. Like, even as creative as it may have been, it's an L.
Also, like, he wrote all 3 verses, and the best verse is Snoop's. AI Snoop has the best verse, not you yourself.
And then, like, he managed to do a Tupac thing with no enemies or Hennessy type thing. Like, you had to do that, but he didn't. Like, it was just, it was like he was rapping like Drake the whole time. Like,
right.
So I don't know, if you're gonna commit to the bit, fucking do it. So then Mr. Nazi himself tries to come in. It's just fiending to get tagged in. Like, that man's acting like the Undertaker, stomping on the thing for the hot tag. but nobody
I want some
tags him
attention.
in.
Pay attention to me. You haven't paid attention to me in years. I want attention. This is the most important. This is the biggest, most talked about thing in rap in years, and it doesn't involve me. So I'm going to interject myself into it because I'm an egomaniac. Yeah.
Nobody gave a fuck.
No one cared. Cool.
No one cared.
Cool choirs, Nazi. Cool choirs.
Yeah, we're on to Cincinnati after that. So 11 days passed between the tailor-made freestyle and what became on April 30th, last Tuesday, one of the great weeks in hip-hop history kicked off with Euphoria, which the first time I heard this, James, I was jumping up and down in my kitchen with the headphones on, just hearing how the beat came in with like just knowing the way he would set it up real calm on the sample portion, and then jumps into what I think is the hardest beat of the battle so far when Euphoria drops. And I'm like, oh, we have arrived. And during this whole time, people have like it's been a week, Kendrick. It's been so long. People are saying we're not going to care when Kendrick Lamar drops. Like I thought this was lunacy. Now, I thought this was ridiculous.
And that's part of this narrative game from the people that are covering this, right? Especially pushed by academics, you know, the head mouthpiece for the OVO PR. Like, they were pushing this. It's been X number of days. It's been 29 days, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, I'm sorry, were we on a shot clock here?
Right.
And I talked about this last week on the show. Like, I believe it was last week. It was like, who cares? And sure enough, the day later, Kendrick's like, yeah, James is right. James is right. So, as you mentioned, dropping that beat, like, it reminded me so much of N95 that, like, I looked it up.
You know what it really reminded me of?
What?
It felt like an even more beefed up version of Young Jeezy Put On.
Okay. So the horns, yeah. I just meant first the energy as far as like, okay, this sounds familiar or something. And it reminded me, it hurt me back of like, first time I heard N95, I was like, what the fuck? I went to the sound, you know, I went to the credits to find out who produced it. I'm assuming it was Boy Wonder again, right? And it wasn't. It was
Cardo.
It was Cardo and Johnny Giuliano, which is crazy because like I used to listen to Johnny Giuliano's like website when he was like leasing beats out like a decade ago, right? Yeah. Oh, we both were. Yeah. Him and Vibe. Johnny Giuliano and Vibe were both like, them dudes were incredible. They leasing out these beats and you're like, I'm trying to figure out how do I do that? And you know, that's a story for another time, but it's like, it's cool that this dude now has a placement on one of race disc records all the time. It's cool.
Like Euphoria comes out, it's so layered. And for me, I was kind of confused by people saying they were confused by it. I was like, I don't know. It's just because I'm tapped in to rap. I kind of know what all this stuff means. Been following it. Like for me, it's very straightforward.
Okay, so for me,
a lot of hate.
So for me, if it's a person that's not into like the listening to the Button podcast or the Act stuff or you know, Drink Champs, all that, any of that kind of stuff, that's not following that content on a consistent basis, only for checking in for certain things that I want to see, or if I see a YouTube clip or whatever else, I'll click on it. Like, I did not know that, like, so many people, like, you know, the whole V12 is a fast one. Like, you know, I mean, I got that line, or I got the line before that, but like the V12 and the V12 was like, oh, that's actually like, that's the instrument they use to like the lipo people now for BBLs or for what do you call it? Ab sculpting. I had no idea. But like, but it was good enough for me because like on the first line, he's talking about like, you know, you got a stomach that, you know, I'll tell your friends we get your abs done. It's like, okay, I already know that story. But like, as you mentioned, like, it's one of them songs where like, it's great the first time you hear it, and as you go through a second or third pass of it, it's even better because it's Kendrick. He's great. And like, then like, you know, he plays the game of like, you know, and then you find out about the Crody thing where like, he's calling him a pussy because like, he's talking about Drake has a cat named Crody.
Yep. And then like, in this, Kendrick basically puts out a core tenet of how he's going to win this rap battle.
Yeah.
He's otherizes Drake from
he
not only
morals, he doesn't stand for integrity, respect, discipline, none of that.
He otherizes him from black culture.
Yes. That's
where
yes.
He was like, he makes that man a Canadian. He was like, we don't want to hear you say nigga no more.
Right.
And it's like, he basically doesn't frame it as this. It's not a moral thing. He said, it's just fucking weird. Like, I just hate when you say it. Like, but he otherizes him to the point to where it's like, you were an interloper. You were a visitor. Yep. Like, even though, you know, you were
at this point, at the beginning, But I feel as it goes further, he further articulates his point as far as saying like it's not a black white mixed thing. It's you are not from here, and you have basically cosplayed, especially over the last 5 years, this culture that like you or parts of this culture that like not only are you not from, like you don't necessarily even know that well. Like I remember back in the day, like, but it was closer into Cash Money days, before he moved off to OVO as a separate entity thing. You would see Drake in like those, in like these RIP shirts of like people that like passed or were part of Cash Money in, in the like 99s and 2000s. It's like, why is he wearing that shirt?
Mm-hmm.
He never met any of these people. He's just wearing the shirt off the strip. I mean, that's kind of cool, but it's like, that's interesting. You would see stuff like that from time to time with him. And obviously, you throw in the blackface thing that went along with that. And it's playing, it's this ongoing, like there's these concerning patterns over and over with Drake. And like Kendrick has basically like cobbled it all together into a very compelling piece of narrative over the last week. Very compelling.
And a lot of the response to this was like, what did Kendrick tell us that we didn't know about him and all this? And to me, that was cope. Like, right. that was like Kendrick basically taking the blueprint from Pusha T and making it better.
He's punching it up, yes.
And basically being like, yo, even if Pusha T couldn't have like landed the stuff, I can, because I'm in the position where we are equals essentially.
Yeah. Like and the reason why Drake was allowed to, or not allowed, but like flat out survive getting his ass kicked in the way he did by Pusha T, because so many people dismiss his or Pusha T's status in this game and what he's done. And also, and just frankly, he's not on the level of Drake, so people weren't going to respect. Like, if the top guy, it's a lot like, oh, Hulk Hogan just lost to Billy Kidman. Okay, he's going to be Hulk Hogan tomorrow because no one believes it, right? When it's Kendrick Lamar, it means so much more because these are two people that are at the top. So yeah, you're absolutely right.
So last Tuesday, like Euphoria busts social media open to the point where it's like everyone's scrambling at this point because like in a way that they weren't for push-ups. Like I feel like this was like a clear, like this was a devastating song. This was like ether in a way. And it was like, I thought like it was so dope with like the flows, the basically, calling to the carpet about fatherhood, calling them to the carpet just about so many things. It's 6 minutes long, so you guys have to listen to it for yourself. But it is it was like, oh man, for a long time I wondered, it was like, yo, what would Kendrick Lamar be like in this situation? Because I always just wanted to see it. I was like, why is everybody afraid of him? And I feel like there's no reason to really be afraid of any rapper except the game, but but I may have to reconsider, like, knowing what Kendrick Lamar is now capable of. I think this really shook Drake, and he's alluding to having information on this. Right. He's laying traps.
Like, let's play. Like, have you ever played? Have you ever? And then he goes, he that's the first tease of his warning. Like, I got info on you, brother. And do you want to go that route? And like they're both playing that game, because obviously you can't just go with it, pull out your biggest guns at the beginning. You got to, this is a thing where it's going back and forth, and then as it goes, you start, with the getting into the actual fight. You got to fill each other out in that way, as far as like, you got to see, like, check the distance of the punches, that sort of thing,
right,
in the fight. Yeah.
So we go through the rest of the week. Pretty much everyone's playing Euphoria on loop, like breaking down the songs, like all the memes are going crazy. Ironically, what Drake used to benefit from with all the memes and everything from his time in the public eye, everything is flipped on him perception wise. People are doing these deep breakdowns of all Kendrick stuff to the point where some of that shit's not accurate at all.
Right.
Some of it is funny.
They're inventing
but some of it is real too. Right. Yes. Some of it is real too, but it's like, man, is this guy really this, like, is he this savvy to really think about all this shit? Like, and the fact is you got to ask the question, I feel like that rattles Drake right there. From there, we get to Friday morning, and from there, we get 616 in LA.
Yeah.
Which is like, the timestamp song, but it's coming from Kendrick Lamar,
right?
And I see the title immediately, and I'm like, ooh, and I'm like, he's also stealing the Drake playbook, going back to back on him.
Yep.
I'm coming out with my poking and prodding song now, and then I'm just going fucking crazy on this like Al Green sample. The last time that thing I remember was sampled was like on a Kanye West mixtape years ago. So like he comes in and this whole thing is just like, oh, this is different. This isn't like Euphoria. This is like,
I'm a better rapper than you. This is forget the like. This is the first.
It's a straight
opening
warning.
20 bars or whatever else is like. I'm going to show you like I am a better rapper than you. Like I am talking about the frame of mind I'm in, and like I am not ashamed to lose. I have nothing to lose in this. You do. Like when he's having a conversation with he's talking to God, and then he says like, look man, like I feel alive on not knowing whether I'm going to win or lose this thing. And this is why he's going on this verse that's like this abstract verse where he's talking about like rhythms and all kind of stuff, and I'm just like, yo, this dude's levitating. Like this, I don't know what kind of weed he's smoking when he came up with this one, but it must have been amazing because he's out here seeing sounds the way that he's rapping right now. He's incredible, and it was like, yo, this is the highest level of rap that I've heard, and in all of this stuff between these two in this whole collection, and it's been pretty high level anyway to begin with, because I think that Push-Ups is a great diss record, and Euphoria is an all-time diss record, and then you get this one to start off the day, and I'm like, oh, and also he's teasing, like he goes back to the have you ever thing. Is like, have you ever considered it? Like, I know everything you're planning because you have someone inside someone inside that like hates your, or a whole bunch of people in your inner circle that hates your guts, and your crew that hates your guts, and they're giving me information. I know what you're planning, and then I think he mentioned the van too, and it's like, then then it was like, yo, there clearly has to be some type of leak information situation with him as far with Drake's camp for Kendrick to know all this kind of stuff. He ain't just pulling this out his ass to be like he's not he did not become a prognosticator, right? He didn't become a medium. It was very like entertaining, and then he drops, if you want to talk more about it, we can talk about it. But then, like,
yeah. Like, and just more how like I was feeling about it, because I was like, yo, this is different. I was like, this is not for us. Like, this sounds like a straight warning. Like, yo, like, I have something for you. It's on you. Yep. If you go one way, I've got something else, which is sitting back here, and I will use it. And May 3rd goes down as a legendary day in rap history.
And that was the first part of it.
Yep. And then towards like it's nighttime. It's nighttime. It's like, I don't know, maybe like 10 at night or whatever. I don't know, 11 at night. Drake puts out a song called Family Matters. There's like a parody of his Buried Alive skit, which Drake has put out on IG, but the main thing is Family Matters is a 7-minute song. Euphoria was a 6-minute song, so it's only fair he's answering it kind of at that same length. Family Matters has 3 beats on it, starting with the original song that was from Push-Ups.
Yep.
Kind of in a longer form. From that, goes into like this drill kind of track where he starts firing back at other people.
I'm assuming that's Kendrick. The Mark Ronson part of the section of the production on the production list when I was looking at it.
And then like he the third song, which one of my favorite things of the whole thing was the third song on Family Matters. Like I thought that shit
awesome
was incredible.
Beat. That has to be Boy Wonder. It has to be one more Boy Wonder. I agree with you. And like it's an all-time diss record. An all-time diss record.
This song was incredible. When I was hearing this, I was like, this is hard. This is tough. I was like, it's not better than Euphoria, but this is tough. Like, I was like, I don't think he made the best song that he could make, because at this point, I'm like, Drake needs to put out the best verses he's ever done. And he almost does that, I think, with Family Matters. And like, I think he's floating on all these beats. Like, it's fun, it's swaggy, it's like
the verse.
Some of the stuff he's saying is like, it's like I'm trying to explain like to Catherine, like, I know you don't like this guy, but listen to how he's just gliding on this shit. Like, and
like
I think
he's incredible doing on the drill beat. Like incredible.
Yeah.
Like I had to go back like 2-3 times to beat just to pick up like all the shit where he's like, you know, like, look, man, we'll get into it, but it's like, you know, he was just flagrant with his disrespect for the Weeknd. Just disrespect, like, and it's bordering on homophobia, but whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever. But he's like,
and he does it again with the Kendrick like thing. He's like, "Who is the man in the house? Where's your uncle at?" But you know,
that is a jab, and we know what the punchline is. But he is using proper pronouns. He is using proper pronouns.
Yeah. But this song is like people are going crazy. Like at this point, like the Drake folks are energized. The whole thing was like,
the main thing is we're leaving this out. It comes.
There's a video to this.
Most people watch it as a music video because it drops on YouTube. It is released on Twitter and it's linked to the YouTube. And it's the van, or the same make and model of the van, more specifically, from the album cover from Good Became Mad City, that is, you know, the vehicle that Kendrick Lamar ends up getting himself into trouble with by leaving with his mama's keys, and throughout that leads out the whole story of the Good Kid, Mad City album. And so, like, you see it on a lift or on a tow truck, and it's driving through, and then all of a sudden it pans up, and like you see the CNN towers, like, oh, they're in Toronto, and next thing you know, he's taking it to it's being taken. That van's being taken to a wreck shop, and they put it in the crusher, and they turn it into a fucking cube. It's like, oh, you know, and he he's giving these lines
symbolism.
About, he's giving these lines out about, talking about the blood stuff. And he's like, look, man, YG's real blood. I mean, hell, even he mentions that someone named Chuck T that bangs out there. I was unaware of a Chuck T that banged out there, but it definitely ain't the Chuck T that they be talking about at Tunnel Talk. I guarantee you that one.
Oh, it's the game.
Oh yeah, you're right. So then he also mentions Chris Brown, and is like, while he's doing these diss records where he's like, push-ups and Family Matters, is like, it's mostly focused on Kendrick Lamar, but he has so much ammo to shoot that he's aiming at all these other people that he has these issues with, that he's accumulated over the last like couple months, year, whatever you want to say. So like, it's Rick Ross is catching more cop bars. The Weeknd is getting he said like all the songs play in places where boys got more pride, and these clubs where boys got more pride. He's trying to he's extending all the branch out to Future, saying like, look, man, we ain't never really went through it. This is all the issue I have with Metro, and Metro is like, finally roped you into this nonsense, and and then like, he's just killing it. He's killing it all throughout. And then he gets to the last part, the boy Wonder Beat, and man, like, he gets back to Kendrick, and he drops the revelation or bombshell that's supposed to be the part of it that you're supposed to really grab you. Is like, he's saying, hey, Kendrick has been beating his wife.
And also, he might have, like, his manager may be his child's baby dad, or at the beginning with the Dave Freeze line, he's saying his manager Dave Freeze might be the father of Kendrick's kid or whatever else, and then like he gets back to that and says like, you mean your wife, and that's probably the reason why you proposed her in 2015, but you haven't married. You live in New York now. Like, are you living that bachelor life in New York? Like, we know the girls you like. There's a lot of there's a lot of inferring like these things, and these are like smart things. Like, being someone that's like made disc records is like, sometimes like you can use the space between truth and lies to cause doubt. Right. It's like, and I think Drake did that a lot with this. Like, well, like, I mean, we know the girls you like. Like, there's no way to verify that, but it's just saying that makes you be like, well, what kind of girls does he like? Or whatever, like, even like if it's like, yeah, he's married, it's like, what kind of girls how does Drake know or whatever? Has he seen them somewhere before or something like that? So like, there are a lot of things like that. There was a mistake that he made in this song though, and this was like some of the stuff that started like verifying the stuff, like Kendrick otherizing him, saying you're not of the culture. No. Okay. Like when he was always rapping like he about to get the slaves freed, and I was like, that's not what you want to say to in response to your blackness, and he starts the song with his mom, and he's starting the song with nigga, man, like he starts like with saying like nigga, and then it's like I just wouldn't have did that one.
You're having your white mom throw you the alley-oop for you to say nigga to start the song. That's weird. It's peculiar.
Yeah. And then like the thing was, it was like, and he's had these weird lines about slavery, like going back last year when he had a song with SZA, gonna slime you out, like it was like something like Black American whipped and chained, like Black American slaves, and it's like, why is this Canadian talking about slavery so much? It just don't sit right.
Right, and the only other person that we've really like let rap like talk like that in like the last few 20 years has really been Kanye, and then look, Kanye turned to be a Nazi. So it's like that's odd. It's odd that you want to follow in those footsteps.
Yeah. So like, I really like the third song on this. Like, like even though he was doing the sing rap and stuff, like I think it was like, like he was like in this video he's pulling out Pharrell's chains, which also kind of illuminates another thing. There's the G-Unit chain in this video, and it's almost like these hip hop artifacts are being held hostage by this man
because he's showing you what do you call it? Not opulence. Opulence. Like he is grotesquely rich now. That like these things that have been auctioned off, he's bought them, and like all them Pharrell chains, like that started like after Pusha T punched him in the face with Adidon, whereas like I remember asking like Kirby, like, why did he buy the Pharrell ice cream chain? It's like, because he's Pusha T's because Pusha T's legacy is tied to Pharrell. So like, okay, I get that, but you don't feel that that's like a rich guy that's a loser doing that shit? That's loser shit. Like, what does Pharrell do with that?
And then in like, throughout rap, like the cool thing is like you're giving your chain by somebody. You're giving a Rockefeller chain. The G-Unit people, you're giving the G-Unit spinner chain like to like Young Buck and stuff like this. Like, why didn't Drake go through the full experience with this G-Unit chain that he got made from Johnny Dang? Like he needs to get robbed for it too. We need to have Jojo Pellegrino get him the chain back in Chicago or something like that. Like, he needs it's like these unearned valor stripes you didn't get or whatever, and it's just more cosplay. Right.
And then you have that weird album cover where he has like the grill and the hair with the hair clips in it. It's a lot, like you mentioned, it's cosplay. It comes off as cosplay because like that's not who you actually are, and we know that because you literally tell us that you're not like that. It'd be one thing if you actually were like that and whatever. Like we know through your experience and when you talk to us in interviews, that's not how you are. That's not how you were raised. And then you do this. It's like, nah, be yourself. Like you have gotten to yourself to a stage and space to where like you feel comfortable doing these things. It's like and look,
and it goes to everything we said about his career.
It rubs people the wrong way.
He was unchallenged for most of his career to act this way. So when he reaches this point, it's almost like the reverse Eddie Kingston or Brian Danielson. It's like you've acted up for so long, you don't know how to act at all anymore.
I got one for you. It's like when you see Nunu in ATL or whatever else when she's at Cascade, when it's like, but imagine like we already knew Nunu when she was in the suburbs, and now it's like, why are you? What's the switch thing? What's this switch that goes on in your mind? What's this? And this ain't just code switching. This is like flat out like your whole aesthetic has changed.
Right.
It's and it ain't just like I got money now. It's not that. It's not that.
Throughout all this whole song, he's rapping at a really high level. I imagine he's feeling good, even though there are warts in this song, which later kind of get flipped up on him.
Yeah. But at the same time, so all the time this record at that point in time, I was like, yo, we just got this is an amazing day we just had. Like we just got one of the best rap diss records of all time. When you throw in the whole video, it's like it definitely has it feels more, there's more weight to it when you see the video with it for the first time. And we're all buzzing about it. Like this is I'm thinking like this is what we're here. I feel like we're like before the whole rest of the weekend went crazy in overdrive, like I'm thinking like me and Rich are going to talk for like 30 minutes on just this alone. on One Nation Radio, and then
And no later than 30 minutes after that. So I like how you brought up 30 minutes. All of a sudden, I refresh my timeline and I jump back to the group. Kendrick Lamar just responded in all caps and meet the Grams. From there, we're seeing an album cover, which is a zoomed out version of the 616 in LA cover, which was just a Mailbag glove. This has like Ozempic on this thing. This has medications,
sleeping pills. Yeah. It has receipts in like write-ups from like jewelry stores and everything. And it has, allegedly like this comes from some luggage that Drake's dad was found missing a while back or recently or whatever else and like you find the pictures like, nah man, like the tease was like, hey man, you know what this Mailbag glove is, Drake, on this album artwork.
Yeah.
You know what that shirt belongs to. You know whose shirt this is. Don't play with me. And then like, so Drake said, I'm not worried. I'm going to drop my song any damn way. And then Meet the Grams comes out, and then Kendrick proceeds to start this song, beat by Alchemist, by the way. Start this song. The first verse is basically a letter to Adonis.
Drake's mom. Or Adonis. Bro, he's like, "Dear Adonis," my jaw drops immediately. And I'm like, and you hear the haunting beat on this thing.
Right.
It's a total switch. Like you're coming off buzzing and bouncing kind of to that last song of Drake. And you hear this and it's like back to reality. I'm sitting you down.
Right. And he says, "Dear Adonis," and he talks about like how his father is is a deadbeat dad. It doesn't care. It has no character. It doesn't stand up for anything. And mentioned like, "Hey, look, man, your dad's a cosplayer, interloper." Stuff we said, like you're going to have to learn some things of on your own. And like, hopefully when you're 18, you play this back and you hear this. And it's like, this is one of the most disrespectful things I've ever heard. And then he gets to the second verse and he says, "Dear Sandra," and he talks about "Dear Dennis," and talks about it's like, hey, y'all relationship has fucked this kid up, and this kid is now a terrible person. And says, look, I believe that I hate your son. I believe he should die. He's a predator.
With Weinstein.
Yeah, I hope him and Weinstein have been fucked up in prison for the rest of their lives. And it's just unbelievable. And then the third verse, he
calls him a predator.
Implies
sex trafficking.
Yeah, sex trafficker. Yeah. Man. Then third verse, he mentions something about a girl, a little girl. What little girl? And I know and dawns on me, wait, what? And then he drops the line like, there is a second child that Drake has not been taking care of, and he's a 2-time deadbeat dad. And she's 11 years old or whatever else, and says a lot of things about like you're important, you're kind, you're smart or whatever else, and like your dad wasn't in your life, but hopefully he's trying to give inspiration to this girl, right? So then the third verse is to Drake, and he says, "You're a piece of shit. You're terrible. You're gambling your money away. You are pill popping. You're a predator. It's just laying into, and I found it to be, what I'm listening to is like, I found this to be like the most disrespectful and cutting.
You know what this reminded me of?
Life. Like this is story Adidon beefed up for 3 verses in the Nasty's part, and I'm like, this is so personal, and this is like, these are things that like they're in rhyme and everything and blah blah blah. If this was somebody saying even like 4 bars of this to you face to face, you have to fight them or walk away.
Yeah. You know what this reminded me a lot of? Do you remember the J Mills Enes battle with the fuck verse?
You have to refresh my memory on that one.
Okay, so I'm making the band. They had Enes basically like Diddy handpick J Mills, the Harlem Freestyle champion, to face him. He has something called the fuck verse where he was basically like, like fuck what everything you're about, like fuck, just fuck everything, like whatever. Like that's what this reminded me of. At the end of this rhyme, he's like, you lied about your accent and your past tense is all perjury. You lied about your ghostwriters. You lied about your crew members. They all pussy. You lied on them. I know you got or they all got you in them. You lied about your son. You lied about your daughter. You lied about them other kids, hoping that you come. You lied about the only artist that can offer you some help. Fuck a rap battle. This is a lifelong battle with yourself.
Yep.
I heard that. I was like, ding, ding, ding. We have a winner.
Yep. I mean, by the time by the time we got through the end of the verse about his parents, I was like, oh.
I completely Family Matters completely disappeared.
No, forget Family. I was like, oh, Kendrick, this is over. This is over. Yep. And then you get the story about the second daughter. He's a two-time deadbeat. And then the story where he talks about like, I warned you, I told you, I hate you, and I still warn you, and you are just a terrible person, and like you have made all these mistakes, and you are just like a fake person. You're not real. And like by the time, those fucking pianos done was over, I was like, yeah, this is over. At least for me, this is over. I think this is a good time because we got a lot of heavy stuff between these songs, between the wife beating allegations, the hidden child allegations. Whether this stuff is true or not, especially when we talk live thing, and like this is like literally 20 minutes after Drake just said that like Rick Ross is jealous, is a side effect of Ozempic is jealousy, and it's like you just shamed this dude for doing Ozempic, and on the album artwork your fucking name's on a bottle on a case of Ozempic, a box of Ozempic. Yeah. You hypocrite.
So he's like, the whole thing with like, all right, I felt like I was like, Drake that's a heavy thing. You probably need to like attach a police report or something that shows that this is true what you're saying about, him beating his wife or whatever. Mm-hmm. Then when Kendrick comes with the deal with like the pedophile stuff, the sex trafficking allegation stuff,
going to Turks and Caicos and whatever.
And then ultimately the deal with the daughter, I feel like the daughter is separate from the rest of this stuff. I was like, if you take the daughter stuff out of this song is still potent, still effective, damn near achieves the same thing.
It absolutely does. Yeah.
But when you hear the daughter line, it's like, oh, this guy has a pattern of this.
Right. Well, speaking of patterns, let's take it to this troubling pattern that is going on. And we talked about like difference of like when people are talking about, well, Kendrick can't, or Drake, people that are in the Drake camp or defending of Drake, whatever else, is like, well, Kendrick can't prove that Drake is a pedophile or whatever else. And it's like, and then people are talking about like all right, well, Drake can't prove that Kendrick beat his wife either. But, however, there is a concerning pattern of behavior around Drake, as we mentioned earlier, around underage women or young women.
Which like
that for a lot of people, or for that is absolutely like grooming, right? Like we talked about the Kylie Jenner stuff, we talked about the Millie Bobby Brown stuff, we talked about Bella Hadid. Like there have been these cases of him being around women that just turned 18 and he has a picture of him around them, and you find out like he's known these people before then or all this stuff. Like that is grooming behavior. So like, court of public opinion, I am more likely to believe what Kendrick Lamar is saying than I am Drake, given that like there are no credible allegations against Kendrick Lamar on the things that Drake claims.
Like there's nothing to rub that against.
Yeah, nor is there a pattern of behavior. There absolutely is a pattern of behavior around Drake, because we've been me, you, Rich, and Sierra, I almost called her Susan because we're fucking Twitter shit, and Tanya have been talking about Drake and this stuff for 5 years at this point. And it's been a dirty secret that's been on the internet. And a lot of this stuff, when we talk about this beef and the content at play, for a lot of people that are not on Twitter or do not follow the Insider News rap podcast, this stuff has been talked about. This stuff has been talked about, has been floated around, has been a dark rumor or whatever. So someone that's uninitiated to all this kind of stuff, hearing this stuff, I know their mouths on the floor, but it's like, nah, man. Like maybe the
like there's a track record here.
Some of the stuff isn't there, but like these things have been talked about as far as Drake with young women. Absolutely. And
absolutely,
yeah. So like it just hits harder because it's more likely to be true than not. Because there's so much smoke. There's so much smoke.
Yeah, and like from there, like Twitter immediately like packs Drake up from here. Like, and like this is all happening in real time. And I think this is important to remember. Preserve this for the rest of history to like how this played out inside of this day, this Friday, where all this was going on with 616 to LA to Family Matters, and then how the reaction to it was swinging back and forth like a pendulum. And it was like, and it was when Kendrick came out with Meet the Grams, it was shocking. It was like,
yes,
it was like this guy has basically invented like this new mode of attack essentially and completely blew away an all-time diss record with one of his own.
Yes.
On the same day that he released something else before. And then it's like, yeah, man, like Drake's really in trouble here because Drake operated on Family Matters like that was the one. That was the victory lap.
Absolutely. Think of how he ended that verse. You're dead. Then talked about like, yeah, you're beating your wife. You're dead. That was the last words you heard uttered from Drake on Family Matters was you're dead. And I mean, yeah,
turns out
that he was talking to himself.
And that was like, you know, like Meet the Grams put him in the casket. And then like we're buzzing on this that whole night, watching the academic stream, re-listening.
I had to be up at 6:30 in the morning to work out. I had my alarm set for 10:30. Meet the Grams happens. I don't go to sleep until like 3. Because I just can't stop scrolling to see what people's reaction was to this. Because it was one of the... I've never seen... It was like I was saying this to you, Rich, and the guys. Like it felt like a playoff series where you're watching like the finals or something, and Drake has home court advantage, and like he wins the first 2 games, and then euphoria happens, and then 616 LA happens, and now it's home court advantage, and now it's going back to game 5, back in Drake's home court. And like the game 5 is literally Friday, where it's like, okay, it looks like you get to Family Matters. I'm sorry, you get to Family Matters. You're like, okay, well, Drake won game 5. We're about to go to game 6, and can just stave off. And all of a sudden, like the Ray Allen shot drops. The Ray Allen shot drops is like, no, the series over. You've been devastated. You've been hit with a shot to make you now you want to get out of bed, let alone play another fucking game. We're done here. And I'm just like, I can't believe this happened. And after so much inactivity, like the way that this moved and the rate that this moved from Tuesday to Friday was staggering. And then never get to Saturday, but it was like, this is all time work by Kendrick Lamar. He dropped 2 all-time diss records in the span of 4 days, and it had a third one that was also awesome. I was like,
I think a key thing to remember about Kendrick Lamar, there is no misstep in any of this except like possibly playing with bad information that you were set up with, right? And Drake still has that tailor-made freestyle, which he's got to yank down himself because he gets himself in trouble. He's got these weird lines, like, with the slavery stuff. Mm-hmm. He's got public perception turning on him in a way that it never has. The dislikes on the video, the ratios, or Kendrick is basically out streaming him and out like pacing him on YouTube videos.
He's out strategized him. He's out streamed him. He's handled the narrative better. He controlled it. Like Meet the Grams is the end. It immediately puts Drake on the defensive. Like everybody knows what everybody has to say. Now you have to explain all of this stuff. And like when you're in a look, I'm not no battle rapper, but like if you're in an argument with somebody and you have to defend things so you can get back on the offensive. It hurts. That's debate 101, and that hurts. And like the way that like that just took Meet the Grams just took the absolute sales out of failing, like what he thought was the kill shot. It oh, not only am I not dead, you're the one that's dead, motherfucker. Like that was a devastating turn of events.
If you're Drake, you have to be
like,
that's like demoralizing. Like if you're Drake, it's like I put out the best shit I could kind of on like short notice kind of, and then I thought I had it, and then he just he folded me like origami.
No. Forget that, Rich. You're saying it's on short notice. It wasn't on short notice. This man planned meticulously for weeks upon weeks on what that video is going to look like with that video crew and all that stuff with Pharrell's chains and him going back to that Chinese food spot that Kendrick mentioned in Euphoria and all that kind of stuff and all that. And he thought this was going to be the kill shot. Like he got all the memes, he got all the stuff, all the things to be screenshot, all that stuff that were ready to go to be the talk of the talk, to be the talk of the conversation for this whole debate and everything for the weekend. And like that immediately gets thrown in the trash, and he has to start from scratch again. And he's out of material now. He's fucked. He's done.
And
he's done.
He's done. I felt the battle was over here at this point. I was like, it's finished. It's a wrap. Kendrick Lamar defeats Drake. Blah, blah, blah. I had 1,000 likes on that shit. I was like 5 stars. Like I had 1,000 likes on that shit. Like, and then after the funeral, it's time to celebrate.
This is the repass?
This is the repass. He's not like us. Circling back to the core tenet of Drake being otherized.
Yep.
And basically being, all the stuff playing on the pedophile stuff, and then the culture vulture stuff, which is just like how Kendrick Lamar, the whole Atlanta section of this song is just like
brilliant.
It's holding the mirror up like on everything Drake has been for the last 15 years and saying he is not like us. He's not like the listeners, the consumers. He's not like the rappers. He's an outsider. He's someone that doesn't understand whatever, and he's getting life put into him, and he's sucking on it like a vampire out of different regions, different cultures, different sounds.
Right.
Kendrick Lamar, also in this, the things that are thrown at him is replayability. Even though Kendrick is one of the most replayable like rappers there ever was, whatever, just so you can hear what he's saying. And it's like, all right, just say you want to make love to the beats, you want to dance. You want to pop ass to the beats, essentially, like
and smoke hookah. I saw that tweet a lot.
Yeah, a key thing I missed on Euphoria, like Ricochet's dumbass jumps out here and was like talking about you calling him gay, you're calling him light. I was like, bro, he wasn't calling him gay. He was calling that man an incel. Like, he was like, I believe you don't like women.
Right.
Like in the way he
operates. It's like no. He's not saying that he doesn't like women because he's saying that he's a homosexual or he's queer. He's saying he doesn't like women because he's saying that no, he believes that he likes girls, not women.
And then taking it forward back here, DJ Mustard has pulled out a mothballs.
Hold on, because Wasabi King said this. Ricochet is forever in his feelings. Yes, he is in his biracial feelings. Like, and that's the thing. When you were on Twitter and you saw this, a lot of your biracial friends were like, "This is unfair. How Kendrick Lamar is treating Drake. He is doing the thing that when I was a kid that I felt. And I was like, that's not actually what he's doing. It's just
I didn't
let that hurt go.
Look, I'm black and Puerto Rican. I didn't feel none of that, James. Like I saw no need to take up for Drake.
Rich, we talk about this often. Like, kids say mean things when they're kids, and then like the trauma that you felt, you either gotta heal, or it's gonna stick with you and color you for the rest of your life. And a lot of kids that got hit with talking white or were biracial never healed. And that's why they uppity to this day.
So, like, Ricochet jumps out there with that. Everyone gets on his head on wrestling Twitter, at least. I'm like, what are you doing? Take this down. I believe I got him.
Look, I got him. And I kind of give, people grace on that kind of thing, right? And I was just like, bro, I bet you think Johnny Gill sang too aggressively. I had to get him. He's like, bro, this is like, how can I call him soft without people being mad at me? I was like, oh, I got it. I'm a black male crooner that's saying rough out there. Those I, let's go ahead and give it to him. Let's go ahead and use that one.
Seamus Nova says Ricochet heard Raw say white boy one too many times. Also, this whole thing, the certified lover boys, certified pedophiles, like, bro, there's so many hip hop quotables in this thing.
Look, I mean, he a fan, he a freak ass nigga. Look, freak ass niggas, he a state ass, and keep in mind, like, the lingo when it comes to the regionalism. Like, this is flat out regionalism, right? And this is why it's at its best. This is the reason why we need to bring back segregation of the regions, right? I'm sorry, we need to bring back segregation amongst rap music, right? Like, calling somebody weird, weirdo, or freaky in California, them is fighting words out there. So when he's calling that man a freaky ass, he's not just saying, "Oh, he's a freak." Like I've been joking about the Dina Howardism lately of no. He is saying that dude's on the other side of normal.
Yeah.
Right. Of like indecency. It's man, just.
Drake pictures with Karl Malone are emerging.
I mean, Drake deleted the one that was on his, but then people found like, oh, it's on Karl Malone's Twitter still.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's like, Kendrick Lamar basically beats Drake at his own game. He's like, all right, man, you want us to, y'all want to beat, y'all gonna have fun too. All right, we'll have some fun. We will crip walk over the corpse. And we will like basically like talking about, you disrespected Pac with that AI shit. Mm-hmm. What does OVO stand for? Basically, you fucked on Lil Wayne's girl. Like, you're not honorable even to the person that brought you into the game. Like, it's a West Coast anthem.
Yep.
It's like the Atlanta verse. Like that for me was just like, like not only are we like putting the casket in the ground, we are shooting a cannon at like the fucking we're shooting a cannon at the space so it blows up after that. Like,
I mean, we lay him to rest in 6 feet deep and then we blow up the earth.
Correct. Like, and then the whole thing is just like the OV ho. It's like he made chants for this man. He calls him a colonizer.
Yes,
like,
that is the dismount on the Atlanta verse. He said like, you talking about you want trying to get you made that slaves free line. All right, I got something for you. You're always in Atlanta, and Atlanta is like foundational to the slave trade and the amount of wealth that was made in this country off the backs of black people. And their pain and their suffering. And what happens when you need some culture, when you need a hit, you instantly go to Atlanta. The future stuff from What a Time to Be Alive, the album from a couple years ago with 21 Savage, 2 Chainz, Migos, right? He mentioned all that stuff, and at the end of it, he says like, like you were, and then he talked about the Chainz, like, you were not a colleague in Atlanta, you are a colonizer. No notes. 5 stars.
Classic. Could be the song of the summer. Like,
yeah.
And it's just, from here, the social media reaction is like, this nigga Kendrick dropped again. Like,
right.
Like Kendrick just keep coming. And this is after we declare him the winner with
Meet the
Graham. And it's like, oh man, like this guy is like, he's hit him from like, all right, I'm gonna give you the trap anthem banger kind of stuff like with Euphoria. I'm gonna get in the soul bag with the 616. I'm gonna get fucking haunting, like, and basically like just disgusting with Alchemist, and then I'm gonna wake up DJ Mustard from a damn near 10-year coma, and then
get one of his 5 years. Let's not go that far.
Like,
let's not go that far.
And just get like just a completely different sounding beat, and I was like, man, this is tight. Like, and then like just flowed all over this shit, and it was just like this was a victory lap. This was a celebration of knowing that he won.
Like, bro, when he said that shit in the first verse, it's like, bro, this is gonna be a tough night. This is gonna be a tough night for Drake when he hear this one, boy.
Yeah.
And then by the time it was Atlanta, I was like, oh, it's like it was already over. There is no path to 270 for Drake. He has to concede. He has to concede. And I guess it's not. Do you have more on this, or do you want to get to the part where...
Yes, I do have more. This is Saturday night, so this song immediately starts going out over the internet, making its way to clubs in New York, Miami, Houston, LA, of course, Atlanta, and it's like you're seeing everybody just going crazy to this thing, and it almost seems like a new challenge is going to get started. It's like, how can we record people at the party going up to this song?
Bro, they are dancing to Freaky Ass Nigga He is 69 God.
Yes.
They are dancing to someone being called a pedophile and sex trafficker that hangs out with other pedophiles.
Bro,
and it's a bop. It's a mind fuck. It's a total mind fuck.
Yeah, and back to the thing, like the heavy allegations thing. I think the reason that this stuff with Kendrick sticks more is because it rubs against that 10-year pattern of behavior.
Right.
Like, so it's like, hey, man, like, we just got to roll with it. I feel like. And then, at this point, Drake is scrambling. Like, I'd imagine. It's like he's throwing shit against the wall. Like, he's breaking shit. He's having, temper tantrums, and then Drake puts out
like
this
Trey
song.
and Boys in the Hood.
Yes, he's doing the Trey Boys in the Hood, swinging at the air, just pissed. And at this point, Kendrick's just like, all right, work's done here.
Yeah, job finished, job done. Like he has compromised Aubrey Graham to a permanent demise.
He's took this man down inside of a week.
Yeah.
And like fucking, I see people on Twitter start suggesting that, Drake should drop the Heart Part 6 or whatever. And my question is, I don't know what that even meant at the time. So the Heart is is Kendrick Lamar's series that he has done throughout his career.
Okay.
His so
basically
1,
this
2,
is like
3, 4,
this
5.
is Kendrick's version of the timestamp.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Drake drops the Heart Part 6 just as Twitter, and I see that. I'm like, all right, let's give him a chance. And then I hear this thing, and I'm like, oh, this is not like this is. I was like, this is something. Was my first reaction, and then I heard the thing where it was like he basically tries to flip like the sex abuse thing almost, and it was like, yeah, man, like you have an issue with pedophilia because you were actually touched as a child, and this is a reaction to, and then I was like, this ain't gonna go over well, this is gonna backfire, this is super ugly but worse. And then what happened? Like it was just, and Drake sounded very resigned to his fate, very defeated, as James mentioned earlier in the show, conceptually empty, repeating a lot of the same stuff, and he's rapping just this long ass verse on this dark, like dingy kind of beat or whatever. It's like the beat wasn't bad or anything.
On the way out is like hitting on his, or more or less hitting on his wife.
Yeah, and it was just like, yeah, you're too famous to be a pedophile. And then there was another one, it was like, and then it was like,
mention Millie Bobby Brown by name, even though Kendrick did not.
Yep. And then he also was like, if I would have done this, I would be arrested, which was another red flag for a lot of people. Like, oh, you don't understand the legal system, white man. Like,
right. It's like, he's clearly getting so much of this from, like, he's clearly scraping the plate by going on Twitter and reading like responses and stuff and trying to find inspiration for a comeback. Cause like, he has to come back with something. So he comes back with this and it's like, okay, your line is you're too famous to whatever. It's like, bro, we just saw like a month or so ago, the motherfucker that performed the Super Bowl halftime show go to Bali to hang out with one of the most famous pedophiles in the world. What are you talking about?
And he also basically
Diddy,
says,
not in prison right now.
He put this information out to make Kendrick bite on this, right? And we have some questions about that. And it's like, was this like planned by Drake? Is this bullshit? Like, is it him trying to get in front of this?
We gave you dummy information to get you to tell these fabrications and lies on your diss records, whatever else. It's like, okay, so on this diss record, while you're saying that like the things that are being hurled at you should not be believed because there is no proof for them, you want us to believe that you sent out anti-espionage to be picked up and Kendrick fell for it without also providing the same level of proof, while also making these claims back on Friday that started is that Kendrick Lamar beats his wife with no information either. Oh,
like, you had cameras
here.
set up.
You have nothing. You're just. This is all just like what do you call it? This is all a coping mechanism. This is your way out. Because like you were basically like the person that you were basically like the boxer, or you're Mike Tyson. Like Holyfield has kicked your ass in fight 1. He's kicking your ass worse in fight 2, and now you're in a clinch and you're chomping down on his ear because you won out. But you don't want to go the rest of the distance to have to see that man have his arm raised by the public or whatever else. Like you were taking the easy way out. You were asking for a way out of here on your own accord because like you were so thoroughly outworked like a speed bag. You're whooped, and you can't take it on the chin like a man. Pause. So yeah, that's really shameful. Really shameful. Pat Bev behavior.
Yeah, it was
Pat Bev. Like Chris Paul walking by him after scoring 48 on him and then like shoving him in the back. This is Pat Bev getting bounced out of round 1 with an MVP candidate and a future Hall of Famer on his team. And he's throwing basketballs into the crowd at fans twice. That's what this is. This sucker move. It's awful.
Yeah, I heard this and I was like really kind of I was let down by Drake because I was like, there's no way like. He's playing defense on this song really heavily.
Yep.
And one thing Kendrick did on Not Like Us was not play defense at all. Right. Like he's like
he obviously answered all the stuff from Friday, but he did not touch on anything involving. He didn't come out and be like, freaky ass nigga, 69 God. I did not beat my wife. He didn't do that. That didn't happen. Drake did 6 or 7 minutes on saying I am not touching kids.
Yeah.
And I gotta tell you,
like, it's like, how do we receive that verse? We'd be like, did that kill Kendrick? No.
How do you receive anything, Rich? If someone pointed this out on Twitter, if I wear a shirt that says I do not have sex with underage kids, you can't be surprised people ask you about why would you even bring that up. It's kind of weird.
Yeah,
kind of weird.
So like when I hear this, I'm just like, this guy's staggered. Like he's like Larry Holmes right now. Like he's like, it's not like either this is it. I feel like we're not going to hear anything else. It feels over.
It's over. Drake. And remember, before it's so funny because like clearly for me, like you go back and through all this stuff and you hear, the way people add these things. I feel like these people are writing these things and then like they're leaving spaces to add in retorts to the previous diss as opposed to they're just writing this off the top of their head. They have stuff in place to format this stuff into making it compelling. And for me, that boy wanted to beat at the end of Family Matters. That was added on. That was added on recently. That was not some. That was the first 2 beats. The drill beat and the Take Heat beat. That was what this was at the beginning. He had it at first, and then he added the boy wanted to beat at the end, talking about the accusations of the wife beating thing because he needed to make this stronger to get him out of here. And he thought he got him out of there. And 30 minutes, and then 20 minutes later, like he finds out that like my best shot was returned down the opposite baseline like Prime Serene at the U.S. Open for advantage Kendrick. And he was all off kilter ever since. He was done.
That's really where
this way to get out.
That's kind of really where the battle portion kind of stops. Like Drake, this song is terribly received.
Yep.
A lot of dislikes on this whole thing with Drake, and like a lot of people were just like, yeah, man, like good battle. Like people from TDE was like, yeah, that's it, kind of. Yeah. Like, and this whole thing was like, just looking back on it, this was like a masterclass from Kendrick Lamar, and even from Drake, like looking at it, like what he did, like lyrically, and his ability to compete. This is an all time. This is one of, if not the greatest rap battle of all time. Just guys, and I know people probably be like, "Oh no, what did Jay-Z and Nas?" Like, I'm like, look, they were. I think these guys are even more seasoned than Jay-Z and Nas were at that point in their career.
The level of disrespect these two reached into starting on Friday is something that's beyond what they went into between even the Super Ugly stuff and Ether. This is so far beyond. It's more advanced, honestly. It's nastier.
Yeah.
It's
more complex, like as far as like there are these like kind of sub records in between like the big ones, and it's like okay, like and the short
Ether. I'm sorry, Ether is not nastier than. It's not a rougher listen to or more uncomfortable listen. Actually, it's not even necessarily uncomfortable. It's like wow, he's calling him gay a lot. That's crazy. Like for a lot of people, Meet the Grams was uncomfortable.
Yeah,
and hell, the Heart Part 6 was also uncomfortable for a lot of people too.
Yeah, and it was like this thing got dark. This thing got like they were having. I think both guys really showed like what they were about. Like the things like people may thought that Kendrick Lamar didn't have, he did have them. And then stuff with Drake, it was like, will you really get in the ring with like someone like Kendrick Lamar? Because there's never been like opponents, I think, that kind of lined up with Drake. He was always able to kind of say, oh, you're not, status wise, you're not ability wise near me.
Yep.
And then this is just a perfect clash of Titans that I don't know if we'll ever see again. I don't know that we've necessarily like ever seen, like, maybe since like, and even Tupac and Biggie didn't really like do that. And then Jay-Z and Nas it's just different, I think, what this was, because this had like a decade leading into it. That had maybe about a half a decade leading into it, right? And they were ultimately clashing over the King of New York. It was like
they were clashing. Jay-Z had clearly separated himself as being like, I'm the number one guy or number two guy right now, depending on how you feel about Eminem. But either it's me or him. It is not like Nas can beat me and he's going to ascend to the main event, right? Like Nas is Nas. He's a multi-platinum rapper, but he is like, regardless of forget the skills, it's about just status in the game and the way people will look at this thing as star power. He's never going to be the star that Jay-Z had became. So
I think this battle also provides like great closure for the time where it's like, all right, these guys that are running these parallel races, it's like when they finally clash, like who got the better of who or whatever. And then I feel like we all can say Kendrick Lamar has gotten the better of Drake. And there's nothing to be ashamed of for Drake, like in that, like losing to Kendrick Lamar.
Maybe until yesterday when he dropped that disc, because it was like that's a really low way to go.
Yeah.
Like that's like he went out like a sucker.
Yeah,
but people don't. A lot of people don't understand these rules, whatever else. Like
I think enough has happened to where, like, if you're a Drake supporter, you can talk yourself into thinking Drake won somehow, but like it's not. It's not flying. Like the more you break this stuff down, and it was just like.
And the main thing about it, because the main thing about it is, one, it was super low, and two, it wasn't true, and he skimmed through. Or forgot what Kendrick said in Miss Morale.
Yeah.
He didn't say he got molested. He said that his mom wouldn't believe him because of what happened to his mom, who was molested. He completely missed the point. And that's the thing, is like, Kendrick Lamar has, going back to the Crody thing of knowing what his fucking cat's name, or one of his cat's names is. Kendrick Lamar has meticulously been waiting for every shred of detail to get to this man and finally put this out on display in an open space to say, like, look, I'm better than this man. I'm more dedicated to this man. I'm more calculating than this man. I can go darker than he can. Like I'm a flat out hater of this dude or whatever else. And I stand on something that he doesn't stand for and he can never stand for. And I represent something he can never represent. And he fully put that on display. And Drake has a mirror shown up to him, and he doesn't like what he's looking at right now over this weekend. He just doesn't. And like I gotta say, for him to have been over the last 15 years become the number one hit maker in the history of this genre, to see people dancing left and right around this fucking country to accusations that he is a pedophile, whether true or not, has to be fucking infuriating. Like we talked about back to back earlier, right? They are talking about Drake like he's Meek Mill after back to back. Do you know how infuriating that's be if you're Drake and they're treating you like you're Meek Mill? That's why he went out this way. He's like, I gotta have some type of agency on how this story ends, how this chapter closes, and like he chose that because like Kendrick Lamar over the weekend completely destroyed him at every narrative point. Period. And this is the only thing he can control that Drake can control was an exclamation point or question mark or a period on the end of this chapter of this book, because it's done. It's wrap.
Yeah.
So,
even if he comes back, it's like, what else is there really to say? Like you clearly like.
He left out of here with the cope saying, this was a good workout. And it's like, yeah, this is a good workout. This man knocked you down in the last two fucking rounds. He's talking about it's a good workout. And then he said, I know you are, after Taylor made, he said, be waiting on you. And now this man said, man, I know you got like 10 more songs. Go ahead and drop them shit. So I don't even care, bro. I'm out of here. Like niggas sounded like, he was moping like he finna cry on the way to getting in that car on the way out of here. But he in the car and he's leaving. And look, at the end of, as I mentioned, like, he went back into that booth for that Boy Wonder beat on Family Matters to add more to this. Because, like, at the end of that drill beat, he said he was going on vacation. Kendrick Lamar said, all right, I got something for you. These 2 songs. And that made that man have to postpone or take a part of his vacation to basically pull that sucker move to get out the fight. So, yeah.
Man, let's get into some of these questions. I'm going to try to get through these because we've gone very in depth on this whole thing here.
I'm pretty sure we probably answered half the questions.
Yeah. So, Adam Yuri says favorite battles of all time. This one.
I've never enjoyed a rap beef more. Or never. Between two
T.I. and Lil Flip, I like a lot also.
That's up there too. 50 and Ja Rule I also enjoyed a hell out a lot of.
Underrated one, I'll say Ice Cube versus West Side Connection, West Side Connection versus Cypress Hill. And
underrated.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say Dr. Dre and Eazy because it's forgotten, but they had 2 all-time great diss records.
Hey, like if you've never checked out that Easy EP that real motherfucking Jesus on, like that whole thing, there is a song called Let's Go, I think, on there. Mm-hmm. That's hard as fuck too. Like there's a couple joints on there. Like, and it's like Easy, he was going off.
Yes, he was. And look, man, like Dre Day is like, I feel like it's the most underrated like diss record of all time. Like, I'm sorry, like for the nigga Snoop Dogg at 19 years old just say I'm just gonna get involved in this shit with some nigga I don't even know to clown on this nigga and then also kill Tim Dog. Like, that shit was ridiculous, and that beat was ridiculously hard too.
Royce the 5'9" just beating on D12 himself is a great one. Mm-hmm. Bizarre Swifty, please give it a year. Y'all both be raking 50's leaves like.
50 and Ross.
Yeah. 50 and Ross is fucking amazing. And then, of course, the Game versus G-Unit. Like, Game single-handedly just destroying them.
There's actually a B-side of this. I guess it'd be the semi-main event. Quavo and Chris Brown out here getting it, too. And these diss records actually pretty good.
Yeah. Bro, when I heard the words crackhead Michael Jackson, I was like, I didn't know Quavo had it in him.
Yeah. Just to speak about it before we move on, because I feel like we went really hard on Drake. I gotta say, during that drill beat when he was killing ASAP Rocky, and that man said like, you clowning on like, or you talking this shit about how you used to fuck my baby mama, like do the math and like who I was hitting in is like, ooh. Yeah, and then he's
Yeah.
That boy Drake went all time on that shit, and it didn't matter 30 minutes later. It's fucking insane. It's
Devastating.
fucking insane.
Devastating. Never let anyone forget this either. Never let anyone forget the sequence these songs drop, like, and how the temperature in the room changed upon release. Black Sabres Jr., is this a big award in Ho versus Nas? Yes.
Yeah.
10 years of build. And then what we got inside of this week, much higher level, songs, I would say, as well.
Yeah.
After all this hoopla, was J. Cole right to back out of this? Yeah, it wasn't his fight.
Yeah, it ultimately wasn't for him, and ultimately, like, Kendrick actually didn't intend for him. So, yeah. Like, I feel like he's kind of been vindicated in retrospect. You'd be like, hey, This wasn't meant for you. You were a decoy.
Yeah. He said, rank the instrumentals of all the songs. I don't know.
Well, how do we do that? Because, Family Man has 3 beats.
Yeah. So like, I would say that the third beat in Family Matters, that's my favorite one of those.
Same.
Not Like Us, obviously, way up there.
Mm-hmm.
Euphoria, the second beat in there, that where you get the first drop of the bass. Those are my top 3, at least.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I mean, I would say Not Like Us will be one. Euphoria, and I guess I'll just say all of Family Matters. Family Matters is incredible. Like, those 3 beats put together are amazing.
Black Saber Jr., how does each artist navigate the rest of their careers after this? Will the diaper sniper allegations on Drake maybe affect his sales connections to others? Could that domestic abuse allegations be something that makes people look at Kendrick in a different light? If nothing ever comes out about Kendrick, like, with this going forward, that will die, and then people will wait for the next Kendrick album. And I think people are still anticipating the next Kendrick album, thinking that this is going to lead to one. Drake, he could be in a bit different situation.
I feel like Drake could potentially now be ushered into his post-prime off of this, if some of that fire comes out from this moment that we've been alluding to over the last 5 years. Or not alluding to, but like I've talked about over the last 5 years when it comes to underage women and grooming. He'll still have his fans, he'll still have his tours, he'll still have his albums, he'll still have success, whatever else. I don't think the hit making machine stops, but like, it's clear that the industry, much of the industry, or a not insignificant amount of the industry, wants him done. And he's at that stage where, like, he should probably be looking around for partnership. And if he's looking around for partnership, there are gonna be people that want him done just so they don't have to give him the partnership. Right. So yeah.
Thoughts on this comes from King Dom, and he sent in a lot of them, so we're gonna try to get through these. And I think we touched on some of these also. Okay. Thoughts on the East Coast rocking with Drake over K Dot? I think maybe talking about folks like Cameron and Mace. Like, these are people that Drake has shown love to, and brought them out at shows. So that doesn't necessarily surprise me.
I mean, if you're an East Coast guy or whatever else, like, you got to think of it from this perspective, right? Like you mentioned, Kendrick he's here today and then gone for 4 years. Drake has been in your face for 16 straight years. Like, that means something, right? Now I will say this. This morning I saw that Kendrick I saw that Cam and Mace were both like,
it flipped, right?
They were like, I think Kendrick won, and I'm disappointed in how Drake went out. They both said that. So,
thoughts on a relationship between Jay-Z and J. Cole? Do you think there's been a quiet tension between them? I don't think so. I've never really heard anything about that. Just Cole eventually had to kind of move into his own career, and then Jay-Z's like, playing with the NFL and shit like that. It's like Jay-Z's not really in the music business anymore.
Yeah.
How much do you think Cole paid Jay for his masters? I don't know if he did or not, so I can't speculate on that. Thoughts on Kanye trying to get involved in the situation? We touched on that. It was shameful. And
we don't
hilarious.
give a fuck. Get out the way. Move.
Yeah, you're done in this town, buddy.
Move, nigga.
Yeah, exactly. Should J. Cole take Budden's advice and go at Kanye? Yes.
Wait, should J. Cole go after Kanye?
Yes.
Oh, because Kanye talked some shit recently, didn't he?
Yeah, about Cole.
I mean, it's it'd be unfair.
Just completely flambe him.
I mean, it's pretty. That would not go well for Kanye. Like, there's not enough ghostwriters in the world that could make that a thing. Like, it's funny because like I heard Kanye talk about like, I killed Kendrick on No Parties in LA and I killed Drake on these songs. I'm like, nigga, you don't write your own verses. Who gives a fuck? Like, we know you don't write your own verses. So why would in the world you say you killed this or killed that? Like, what are you talking about? Like, why do these people that like make these compromises that are public and known now to get to a certain level, to do certain things, also want the credit in this lane that like they did not try to go after? Like, right? It's the WWE fan that also wants like the Observer Awards and shit. It's like, it's so fucking annoying. Drake, you're not winning a Grammy or Pulitzer Prize, bro, for Album of the Year. Sorry, bro. You made that compromise decades or over a decade ago. Live with it. You don't get everything. You get some things.
Kingdom, does the allegation of spousal abuse change the perception of Kendrick Lamar's image? No. You know how many rappers have had those kind of whispers around them?
Right. I was saying this to you about like bro, it's my because my cousin, I was like, well, if this is true, it's like, if this is true, I hate to say this, but he's still gonna be Kendrick Lamar. People still gonna play them records because he's a gangster rapper. Like, Dr. Dre threw a woman through a fucking wall. They made a biopic about it and then talked about that part in the movie and then put it out and then edited out of the theatrical release.
Yeah.
Because it made him unsympathetic.
Said, am I the only one that thinks Kendrick could have done more instead of going for the low hanging fruit? Sometimes you just got to take what the defense gives you. And
should he have gone for something other than the low hanging fruit? I'm sorry, man. This is high stakes, and like when it's high stakes, you gotta get the ball through the basket. Like, so I'm sorry. Like, sometimes you gotta have the post game LeBron James post game. Sorry.
King Dom gave me lots to choose from. I'm gonna just pick some of the best of the rest of these. So are we going to give Kendrick a pass about the ghostwriter allegations? I absolutely will, because I've heard Baby Keem rap before. It is not like Kendrick Lamar. So like, no, like there's never ever been anything. And that's
another part that's been highlighted throughout all this. Besides the character issue, Drake has oh my God, what's the word? It's such a simple word, I'm blanking on it. Credibility issue. It's credibility issue. Like, if you know both of them and both of their careers, you are more likely to believe Kendrick Lamar than Drake. Because Drake is out here saying cease and desist are for hoes. At the same time, he has beef with some of these dudes for cease and desist, and there's paperwork on it. Or just emails that screenshotted on it. While he's putting it, and that's happening as he's saying this on diss records.
Will both Drake and Kendrick have to put out answers about all the allegations that were put out? No, neither of these guys do media.
No.
Thoughts on Kendrick possibly walking out Terrence Crawford to his next fight on August 3rd in Los Angeles. If he comes out and he does not like us, that would be crazy.
I mean, he got the name drop in there. So, yeah.
Yeah. Terrence Crawford whooping feet. Thoughts on the reports of Schoolboy Q telling J. Cole Edge to stay his left? It's just kind of what I thought what happened. J. Antonio Teodoro, he says, what does Drake have to do to dig himself out of the massive deficit he's in? There's nothing he can do.
I mean, you better go. I mean, well, I said to you, the only thing at this point is like, well, he might want to dig up Barbara Walters and go hope that she can interview him. But outside of that, his ass is done. Like,
that's one thing we do need. We do
Ed
need
Bradley,
these guys.
Anderson Cooper. I don't know.
We do need these guys to actually give an interview about this shit and talk about
well
all this shit.
Well, we see that Kendrick has set up a person to interview with, and I think that was quite strategic. That pick, and a person I gotta say. Peter Rosenberg. I don't know what the Yiddish word is for sellout, but boy, Boy.
They ain't gonna like you.
Is there a Yiddish word for coon? Is there such thing as a Jewish coon? Because boy, that one is like, bro, you really? There ain't gonna never be another Drake.
That was funny. Dan Coffee, he said, what comic book characters in their battle would you compare these to? Rich goes first and then James. Brother, I have no idea about no comic book, so I'm going to throw this right over to James.
So, comedically, he wanted you to say something so you could be wrong, I can laugh at you. I'm sure that's why he set it up that way.
Yeah, nigga, it's Goku versus, one of them niggas. I don't know.
Man. I'm trying to think. Who had a dark turn? I don't know, man. Like, I know people are going to ask for like wrestling comps for this. I probably have a better wrestling one because obviously it's more dramatic in that way. But yeah, this is a dark turn for like, the biggest star because of ego, flat out ego. Like, and most of the character arcs for comic books, like they don't do that to characters because like once you quote unquote ruin a character, they don't sell comic books as well, so they would never fucking do that. Like, so I can't really think of a Drake one right now. But yeah, just I guess I don't know. Maybe Doom. On like the post Secret Wars, where it's like he's on his own situation and like he has to come face to face with like there's a wormhole between two planets, between two universes, and like they're kind of collapsed upon each other. And like he is in the other wormhole, ends up in the other place where like Doom's an evil person, but he ends up being a good guy in this other universe. And like he finds out like the way that he gets everything he wants in life is that like he has to forgive Reed Richards. Reed Richards is like the person that like sent him on the path towards being evil. And like the way he responds to it, as opposed to like going back and like forgiving Reed Richards, is like he shoots himself in the other alternate universe and then like destroys that universe and then leaves and goes back to his universe and just like concedes that I'm just gonna be an evil piece of shit the rest of my life. Like that's kind of where Drake's on right now. It's like Kendrick held up this mirror to you, show you your flaws, and how do you handle it? Oh, you went out like that on the Heart 6. Yeah, sorry.
MJ does PR. What is the best drink to mix with Canada Dry? Seeing as you are from Toronto, MJ does PR. Maybe you can tell us. I would think something cherry flavored.
With Canada Dry. Vodka goes with anything, so I'll try that. Imagine a whiskey probably go well.
Aaron Rotowski, let's say it's a scenario and not reality. Everything Kendrick said was a lie. He just completely lied about Drake. But Euphoria, Not Like Us, still ends up as a song of the summer and played for months. Does Kendrick still win? Yes.
Yeah.
Like
they're better songs.
Rap battles in the past, like have not always come down to truth.
They often don't.
Yeah. And like, I think the visibility of those songs of Not Like Us is going to be a monster all this summer. Yeah. I can just tell. I can't stop listening to it. Personally.
And also remember, like that is right now still, it's probably the biggest song since it came out in rap. So
yeah,
until this beef stuff happens. So yeah.
King Dom, why do you guys think Drake didn't really go at Future like he did everyone else? I just think there wasn't a ton there, and then Future's not going to rap back at you like that. Like, he'll just shoot you or something.
Given the narrative that Drake has put out there, like his problem, he doesn't really have his problems with Future, and he's actually trying to extend the olive branch by burying Metro along the way during that drill version of drill part of Family Matters. So yeah, like he's trying to actually make amends. He's trying to get back in the fold. So you remember, like, at this point, it seems like the whole industry is out or most of the industry is out to get him out of here. And like, people you got the least problems with, you try to get back on your side on the climb back towards amends or trying to, hold your status.
Atticus Earth, he said, if you had to describe this beef to anything and everything wrestling related, what would you go for? Which wrestlers, which angles, which disses or moves or developments in a program? Do you even really relate this stuff to wrestling, or do you get an entirely separate fascination?
Oh, I got one. Like Kendrick or Drake has completely acted like like post workers' rights CM Punk in over this weekend. Like that man, like he got called a pedo, or even before that. Like the whole thing starts, and like the way it's going is like I just want out of here. I want out. It's just been bad for me. I want out, and like I just want out. So yeah, like I would say CM Punk.
I mean CM Punk. We got in the comments. Brewhaven Punk does like him young.
Not that young.
Yeah.
And
I don't know.
Also, there is a history of CM Punk dating women even older than him too. I don't recall Drake being around any woman older than him. Not for long, except for like Serena. That's it.
I really don't relate this stuff to wrestling. Personally, like I think there are just too many like moving factors in this because, you know, could you say Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels? Sure, you could. Shawn Michaels was Drake. You know, he's like just flashy for the girls, and obviously, you know, there's other stuff.
I thought you were gonna say that. I thought you were gonna say Drake is Bret because they're Canadian. That was it. And I was like, I don't know how this one would go.
Nah, but Bret in this case would be Kendrick Lamar, even though he's Canadian or whatever. But it would be more like I hate what you fucking represent. Like there's a lot of that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and Anwar, let me get this name. Starwind. Did Kendrick Lamar modernize how to attack your opponents in battles because he's been relentless? What's your opinion on how Metro went at that Blanco man? Producers can be devious too. I will say Kendrick Lamar did not modernize how to attack. He's looked at what's worked in recent history and just upped the ante, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
I
think the part that he's upped the ante is like he's dropping these things when like academics is about to like start streaming and whatever else. Like he is clearly like I'm on the narrative thing. Like I am like he is like, you know, Legento activities.
Yeah.
Lamar activities. He absolutely is playing that game better than everybody right now.
Like the whole thing with Kendrick Lamar, people just assume because he doesn't really use social media and you know stuff like that. Like this guy is dripping in burner accounts. Like there's no way
there's
this plugged in.
no way that he came out with the material he came out with without being tapped into what the talk is with online and also like these sites these insider hip hop analysis shows. Absolutely no way.
Brandon Van Candia, should Kendrick keep going and continue to diss Drake?
Nope. It's over.
I think he's done his job here. However, like I think we're always going to hear their music differently now going forward. Like, oh, is this a shot at somebody, and we're going to associate them anyway. So if there may be a door that opens up again, but I don't think he should be looking to immediately do that. I think the point has been proven. I say roll all these songs into the next album, put them all on there, and then you know you got your damn part 2 essentially, and it's like a diss album, which is the deconstruction of fucking Drake. Like, and they say you using beef to sell records, so fucking what?
Yeah, look, if he actually has those 10 that he says he has left, I would like to hear a 14 part album of him dissing on Drake. Just selfishly, because like the way this weekend went, the way we just captured this, like I would like that physical copy of that, and I would like to go to a store, a brick and mortar store, and buy it and put it into a storage bin for like just say that I bought a part of history, because this is a story, right? But like honestly, it's like there is no need for Kendrick Lamar to speak on this as far in an actual mentioning names diss record outside of doing the whole like Nas thing, you know, I'm Nas, I'm a Braveheart veteran. You already know who I'm better than. Right? Yeah. Like I several little shots here and there because he's been deemed the winner, right? Outside of that, there's no real need to do that, right? But this way I mentioned, like if this was on the other side of it, Drake would be talking about this now stop because he's a loser.
He'd never stop.
Because he's a loser, and that's why he spent millions of dollars for like Pharrell's chains. Because he's a loser. He just has a lot of money.
Look, And that was a part of Kendrick Lamar's point. It's like, you thought all this stuff wasn't going to make you. And I got to say, man, it's wild. King Dom had another one. Is Drake a culture vulture?
Yes. But
it's hard to say
he is. And the thing is this. People, when they hear certain terms, they only think of them in the terms of how they're normally used. So I'm not saying that he's not, I'm not calling into question his blackness or calling into question his whiteness or his identity. This guy is a Canadian rapper that has done a bunch of different regionally distinct records for seemingly no reason other than, I'm the biggest hit maker in the game. I'm going to make these things. I see them as a wave, and I'm going to co-opt these sounds.
This is a guy that used to rap like Little Brother.
Right. This is the Madonna approach. This is the Kanye approach. This is why Kanye the other day came out here and says, like, I invented these genres of music. And I'm like, you didn't invent these genres of music. You tried these things with other people that actually did invent these. You fucking asshole. But you discarded them. Like, Kanye's a culture vulture too. He just dark, or he's just brown skin. Like, it's just like people. So in the actual term of what that is, yes, he's dibbled and dabbled on all these different like regional things. He's done bounce records. He's done dancehall. He's done Afro beats. He's done the UK drill stuff. This is a motherfucker from Toronto. Look, I can understand like the dancehall stuff, whatever else. I don't know when the drill thing was like, okay, all right, brother, I get it. I see what's going on.
Roadman ting.
Right. Put on the fake accents and shit for all of it.
Yes. Rambo Slamping. Well, Drake and also 96 AKAs, they kind of asked the same question.
Hold on. We need Vegas Drake. No. When is that? When are we going to get that Detroit Drake?
We're going to get a country
CMG
Drake.
Cash.
Wow. Oh,
country time Drake. Wow.
Will Drake getting chewed up in a rap battle this badly have any long-term impact on his career, or is he already so mainstream and pop that his fan base largely will not know or care? Oh, they'll know, but they won't care.
They'll know, and not only will they not care, they'll pretend that he still won, just like what happened with Pusha T.
Yeah.
You gotta remember, stands identify with the object, right? So therefore the object or the institution cannot fail because that means that they have failed. We talk about this all the time with WWE, in wrestling, in AEW.
And let's see, we got one more from Kingdom.
Even Kanye has a defense. Oh, brother, look. Don't say even. My cousin Alex is. Oh my god. He's still like. Has he admitted that Kanye is no longer like a top star in the industry, or is he still like? No, he just went independent. That's all it is. Never mind the bad albums and the.
I don't think he's come to terms yet.
Because why? Because he identifies them. Because if Kanye fails, that means I failed, and I ain't no failure. Damn it!
I let my man Ed sneak in a wrestling question. Shout out to Ed. I always see him comment on stuff, and he always has unique things to say. He said, "Lesnar beating Kofi Kingston is so painful. Would you have preferred Kofi Kingston to never have won the title? Is the pain worth the joy? Do the bad times erase the good times?" For me, the way Lesnar won the belt is not a reflection, or excuse me, the way Kofi lost the belt is not a reflection of why he won it. That guy had 11 years of hard work and went into it, caught fire at a certain time, and peaked. Quite frankly, in one of the best matches in WrestleMania history, and just kind of like a perfect footnote for his career or whatever. He can't help that he was being that he got booked on a whim by Vince McMahon to lose it in that fashion, which may or may not have been a sexual fantasy. I can't put that on Kofi. So I would not take away the joy that created.
Same.
Sounds good. I think we are done here with this mammoth episode. So I hope you guys enjoyed that deep dive into.
Hey, yo, that's
quite frankly one of the greatest rap battles of all time.
I hope you ain't getting off I hope you enjoyed that deep dive. Relax, take it easy.
I'm all 4th Street.
Oh man. Okay. So, any plugs for you? You want to plug
OneLifetimeWorldwide.com. Yeah. Get your merch. Get fly. I think mine is in production. I got some, the new designs coming, so I can wear them on the stream and show you guys. But definitely check that out.
Yeah. Thanks for listening, y'all. Thanks for watching. If you are watching from the stream, be sure to go to our podcast show notes and go to the link to the website and you can donate there. And be sure to listen to the other shows on the network on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. Besides One Nation Radio, you have Keepin It Strong Style, All Things Elite, Imps WE Adventure, Wrestling Art with Chris Things, Tunnel Talk.
What's up with Tunnel Talk?
And the Trish and Sarah Wrestling Podcast. Thanks for listening, y'all. Later.
Cool. Peace.
You retired that boy. Shout out to Big Trent.